Hello there, I am Robot Rallis here with a special guest once more.
Hi, Laura here. Um, yeah, I play Magic, play Flesh of Blood, play a whole bunch of stuff, do Cube, do Draft, all that sort of stuff. Recently been playing a decent amount of Pioneer.
That is really cool stuff. I'm actually super duper happy to have you back on again. There were actually two people that I thought about having on since, but one of them is just much less cool than you, and the other one ended up quitting out. So you are the clear front
Uh,
runner for co-host right now.
well,
Congratulations.
I'm very glad to be on our esteemed podcast platform here.
Indeed. So the first thing that I have today is a Midnight Hunt set booster crack pack. These are 12 card boosters featuring, well, let's just say some interesting card selections. And I have Scryfall, and you do too, so you'll be able to see these
Yeah,
once I go through them. Just going to open up one of these packs, and we'll see
absolutely.
what you think the best cards are. Oh dear.
That the sound of opening packs are just
I'm sure it sounds much worse
really
through the
like
microphone than it does in real life.
ah.
Oh, I love the art cards. They're,
Good.
they're always so beautiful. All right. Well, it's a beautiful mountain, but I don't think we're picking that one first. Oh,
Unlikely.
okay. So we have component collector.
Mm. Now, this is all from,
This one
yeah,
is
this is all
from
going to be
Midnight
from
Hunt,
Crimson
yes.
Hunt.
This
Yeah,
is
Midnight Hunt, sorry, no. I always say Crimson Hunt because I mix up Crimson Hunt and Midnight Hunt.
you could call it Crimson
Uh,
Hunt, and people will understand you're talking about those two sets on the
yeah,
page. Yeah.
yeah,
So this is a two and a blue, 1/4 homunculus that says if it's neither day nor night, it becomes day as this enters the battlefield. And whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, you may tap or untap target non-land permanent. Um, this just doesn't this doesn't really seem like a card. It seems aggressively average at best.
yeah. It's I. If you need a blocker, if you're playing blue and you're just like, I'm gonna play big creatures in blue and green, sure, a 1/4. That's gonna block a decent number of creatures.
Yeah,
But
but I'm never
yeah,
going to be
the
excited
tap or
about it.
untap. Yeah, like the day becomes night or night becomes day. It's like that happens like at the start of a turn. So it's like I guess you can't even get an extra mana out of it really,
No.
unless you're casting it on an instant.
Well,
So
I think what you're supposed to be doing with it is like you like tap their big thing.
oh, it's non-land even. Yeah,
Yeah, so like
yeah,
you tap their big thing during their turn, but like the problem is you can never really use it offensively too well because one of your creatures is a 1/4, and
yeah,
defensively you have to do a whole lot of work to set this up because if it's night, you have to cast two spells to turn it back into day, and if you're casting two spells, you
yeah.
can probably hold back their aggression anyway. And if it's day and you want to turn it to
Absolutely.
night, you have to do nothing, which means you don't have anything other than, well, tap their thing and hope for the best. Uh,
Yeah.
we have another homunculus up next. This one is Unblinking Observer. This is one and a blue
Ooh,
for a 2/1, a lot more my speed, and you can tap it to add blue
yes.
and spend that mana to pay a disturb cost or cast an instant or sorcery spell. But I think this is a lot more serviceable than the last card. Like
I would say so. Yeah.
Disturb, I remember Disturb is actually quite good. Disturb is just a very strong ability.
Mm.
Like even in
Yeah.
constructed, there are a few different cards that I've seen, in like his like brawl and I don't know. There's got to be a couple in standard too, right? Probably several in Pioneer. Just having extra
Yeah.
card advantage off of things that are already good is just really good.
Yeah, exactly. Disturb is a really interesting mechanic because like it you get the benefit of having two different creatures, but you're restricted on the timing of when you can get them. Um it's a pretty strong mechanic. There aren't too many I haven't seen too many around that have actually made it as, as big staples necessarily, unless I'm quickly scrolling through the set list to make sure I'm not making a fool of myself. Okay, no, there's one. There's one that I can see that's done really well. But
Is it like the life gain
yeah.
one or the
The life game one's all right.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're playing Soul Sisters, it's definitely a good card for it. The one I was thinking about is Malevolent Hermit,
Mm,
which is yeah, really good if you're trying to combo off or something. It's a really good defensive piece that also can just hit him for 2 damage sometimes. You know, a 2 mana 2/1. We're literally looking at one right now. I'm Blinky Observer. One in blue for 2/1. It actually does damage. Like you can actually get in for, you know,
yeah.
at least 2 damage usually, maybe 4 if they're, not
Like
playing around it very well.
this is a solid step above random 2 mana 2/1 vanilla, but I still don't think it's probably the card we're going to take. And this next card definitely confirms that, and I think you'll agree that it's probably the clear front runner. This is Search Party Captain.
Oh yeah.
You
Yes,
already know
I
what this
have
card is, don't
had.
you?
I already know this card. This card I had a lot of success with. I love this one, honestly. Um, yeah. I really enjoyed Coven as a mechanic in this set. I really enjoyed the gameplay of placing down a whole bunch of different creatures, making my numbers work out in a way that, happens. And this is a really good payoff that doesn't actually use Coven. So if I attack with a 1/1, a 2/2, and a 3/3, 1 mana bear that draws a card, that sounds pretty alright.
Now,
Like,
now that's the best case, but like even the worst case and the average cases are still
mm,
really good. Like
yeah.
if you told me that this card was like always 3 mana, 2/2 draw card,
Mm,
it would still be really good. And as a 4 mana
yeah.
2/2 draw card, it's not unplayable at all. I've definitely played cards about this good. Like I think there was that green one from Kaldheim, the
The
one with the
wolf,
yeah
Saros Packmate.
yeah
Yeah,
that
Saros
one.
Packmate.
I mean, obviously you could spread it
Mm,
across 2 turns, but like there were a lot of turns
yeah.
where I just paid 4 mana and played that card out and drew a card.
It's
It
a
was a
really
three
good
three, of
top
course,
deck.
but
Yeah. This has more relevant types as well, though. I think Midnight Hunt had some human synergies, if I remember rightly. So,
but yeah, I think this
but
is
yeah, this is
this is the pick so far, pretty easily.
so far out of our commons. I think this might be our best pick out of the commons.
We shall see, because our next one, I don't remember this one too well. This is Clarion Cathars. This is a 3 and a white, 3/3 human knight, and when it enters the battlefield, you get a 1/1 white human creature token. So this is notably 2 parts of Coven by
Oh,
itself, and additionally, it's just 2 bodies. Like 4/4 worth of stats
yeah,
spread across a 3/3 and a 1/1 is just really solid. I think in a lot of decks, I'd probably just take the Search Party Captain over it, but this is definitely a good card. Like I don't think there's a lot of formats where this
definitely.
is better.
Yeah, I would take the first search party captain over the first Cathars, but I would take like the third Cathars over the third captain. I think this, it's kind of a 4/4 for 4, where your opponent can't destroy it cleanly. Because I mean, I think in this there was no, that was Crimson Vow. There was the Unleash the Hounds or whatever the spell was actually called. Um, at common, and but in this, I don't think there were any sweepers at common or uncommon that were very good. I think splitting across a couple bodies makes you quite a bit stronger against black or red removal.
Yeah, I mean, I just agree with all those things. You've made some pretty solid points. I think we can just move on to the next one. Not a whole lot extra
Oh,
about that card. It kind of just wears its
okay.
power right on its face, not a whole lot of nuance.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now we have a Tireless Hauler. This is our first transform card, and this is a 4 and a
Mm.
green 4/5 with vigilance, and daybound. And when it becomes night, it becomes a 6/6 with vigilance. This is all for the cost of 5 mana.
Mm.
Mm.
I had a lot of success with this card.
Yeah,
I think in for Midnight Hunt I did like 3 or 4 drafts in person, and 2 of those times I built werewolves as a deck. This card is actually just an absolute beater. Um, this it's a very Midnight Hunt is a very slow format in the end. Because you've got Coven where you want to build up a board over time. You've got Disturb where you want things to already have died, so that takes time. You want things like, you know, there's very little that's just we want to make sure our like we want to make sure everything's like super fast. There's no deck that's trying to just beat you down consistently, or at least there are not many of them. And Tireless Hauler coming down on 5 is not that late. Sometimes there are some formats where you would be dead by 5, and Tireless Hauler just of almost anything your opponent is sending at you.
yeah, it is pretty sizable. I mean, just looking inside the rest of this pack, sorry for sneaking ahead a little bit. There's
That's all right.
there's actually not very much inside this pack that attacks into a 4/5 profitably at all. In fact, short of like a death touch creature or something that you've augmented, generally the only way this thing's dying is if you're double blocking it using a removal spell or you pump something up.
Mm.
You need,
Yeah,
you need a pretty beefy body to contend with 4/5. And then the 6/6 side, plus it has vigilance, it kind of does double duty. Definitely seems like a strong one.
yeah.
Personally, I think I might still be on Search Party Captain because I just like cards that say draw a card. But Tireless Hauler is definitely not bad.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's an interesting analog between Taylor's Hauler and Search Party Captain. Search Party Captain draws you a card, but Taylor's Hauler will almost always require an extra card from your opponent. Which, sometimes it's better for you to draw the cards, sometimes it's better to effectively make your opponent discard them. But you'll get Search Party Captain for less mana, so hey. I
I'm
think you
just
might be right on that one.
just gonna imagine a world where I'm gonna play both of these inside the same deck and just make all of my opponents miserable.
Ah, it's a dream. It's the dream.
All right. So our next card, we have another flip card. This one is Shady Traveler.
Shady Traveler. I
Yes,
don't
this is
remember
a
this
2 and a
guy.
black for a human werewolf. That's a 2/3 with menace and daybound. And when it's nightbound, it is a 4/4 with menace. This card looks kind of meek, but it's actually not bad.
Yeah.
Uh,
No.
especially when it's night. Obviously, a 4/4 menace is actually pretty tough to deal with. Uh, like you said, it's a slightly slowish format, and removal spells they
Yeah.
kind of need to be saved for the things that matter. And it turns out it doesn't take a lot of work for a 4/4 menace to become something that really matters. And I did end up drafting a good amount of Midnight Hunt, and I had to spend more removal spells than I care to admit on a Shady Traveler.
Yeah.
Granted,
No,
right now
definitely.
I don't really think I take it over either of the two cards that are near the top of the list. I don't think the Hauler or the Search Party Captain are worse than this by any stretch.
Yeah. I definitely think that Stalking Predator is a good card, but the only problem I have with it is its front face dies to both Cathartic Pyre and Moonrage's Slash,
Hmm.
which were two of the best removal spells in the format.
Oh yeah,
Which,
Moonrager Slash.
if you're
Oh god,
drafting werewolves, hopefully you're picking those up as well. But
Moonrager Slash is
it,
easily like probably one of the top three commons in the set, if not top two. It like has to be, right?
yeah, definitely in this format, definitely. It's matchup dependent, but even like 3 mana Lightning Strike. is not that bad.
It's
Like
never bad.
3 mana bolt.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. It's like it deals damage to the face. Like, what more do you want?
what is your opponent gonna do? Not play creatures that have 3 toughness?
Exactly. It lines up. It lines up really well at basically every stage of the game. It also, yeah. So that's my only trouble with Shady Traveler. Is that its front face does die to a lot more removal and a
Yeah.
lot more like relevant removal.
All right. So next up we have Ghoulish Procession. This is a bit of a build around, and to be honest, I was never too incredibly impressed with it. It's 1 and a black for an enchantment. Whenever one or more non token creatures die, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. This ability triggers
Yeah,
only once each turn, and that was the thing that kind of womp womp brought it way down for me. It turns out putting that ability on a card only triggers once each turn tends to really bring the power levels down. Takes the wind right out of my sails.
yeah. This isn't a limited card. Um, this is a card that's meant for, a standard
Constructed,
deck
yeah.
meant like built around,
Like
yeah, a
Brawl or
standard deck
something.
built around sacrificing one creature each turn, basically.
Yeah, well, like there's
Um,
like a couple tricky things you could do with like, oh, yeah, something on my turn. Now I do something on your turn, but it's not really. You're doing a lot of work, and your reward is a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed, and it turns out 2/2s with Decayed take a lot of work to make
yeah,
really really good. You can do some work with them in this format and make them good, but like you're jumping through a lot of hoops, and I've only
yeah,
seen this card actually pop off once or twice, and you need a very specific deck for it to happen.
mm,
So
yeah.
for me, our first uncommon, which is this one, I think I probably don't take it over the search party captain or the hauler,
I don't think so either. Yeah,
which is
this doesn't
disappointing to
quite do
say
enough, sadly.
because I think it's a really
Yeah,
fun card. It's really cool looking, and it's like a nice ability, but just doesn't really get there for me.
yeah.
Ooh, here's a fun one. Another build around, and I never actually saw this one in play. This is Blade Stitched Scob. This is blue and
Oh
a black
yes.
for a zombie 2/3, and other zombies you control get +1/+0.
Yes, so my little history with this card is I wanted so one of my friends wanted to get into Magic at around this time. And, I presented them with, okay, we're gonna build your tribal deck because tribal decks are easy, they're good to like understand. What tribe do you want? I gave them like there's elves, there's dragons, there's zombies, there's like wizards. You could build merfolk. There's a whole bunch of options. They were like, let's build a zombie deck. So we went through all the colors, looked at what they wanted. They wanted to do a blue black zombie deck. So at the time that this was out, Blade Stitched Scarb, actually a pretty decent card, especially with the decayed zombies out. The as you well know, going from 2 damage to 3 makes blocking really hard a lot of the time. A lot of really good blockers are like 3 toughness because they can block out a lot of the small stuff, and turning your little 2/2 decayed zombies into 3/2s actually very relevant.
Yeah, they're actually respectable creatures at that point. I mean, they'll die, but
Yeah,
they can at least crack in for a lightning bolt's worth of damage.
yeah, absolutely.
You can't take infinite threes. You have to finish the
No,
game somehow.
yeah, I mean, hitting with like it takes 10 hits from a 2/2 to die, but it only takes 7 hits from a 3/2.
Yeah.
Like that's 1 turn less of damage that you need to do basically. So
Plus it has 3 toughness itself. Like it just like everything on the card makes it seem like it is there. It's just for some reason
yeah.
I never ended up seeing it in play. Like I don't doubt the power level at all, but I just haven't seen it. I don't know why.
I don't know if this yeah, I
I
don't
get
know if it really made the cut in limited.
I don't know, maybe it's just like one of those mythic uncommons
Lords,
that
yeah.
just never got like passed around to me. It always
That's
felt like
true, yeah.
there's always like 1 or 2 cards in the format and I'm like, "Oh wait, this is a card? where the hell has it been? Like I
Mm,
just
mm.
where did it go? And I just know that
Yeah,
by now this card
absolutely.
has to be in like a bunch of commander decks, right? Like,
Well, yeah, if you're building like Esper zombies or something, this is a great card. Really
yeah,
good.
it's 2 mana. I mean, the last zombie lord, like most of those are like 3 mana. There's like Diregraph Captain and like Lord of the
There's the
Undead and
yeah, skeleton something
yeah,
and
and all those are like 3 mana or more. Lord of the
yeah.
Accursed, stuff like that. Yeah, I mean this one only does power, but like, what do you care? They're zombies. You want them to go to the graveyard, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
I don't know for sure if I want to go in for a two-color card in my first pick. So right now, this I might just be being stubborn here, but I'm inclined to still go with the Search Party Captain. But
Yeah.
I do like the Scab.
If this comes yeah, I think if this comes around the table and comes back to you,
Oh, oh yeah.
pay attention. I think you might have the opportunity to build a cool new deck if this sort of thing happens.
Oh, for real. Like, already on its face, it just beats the vanilla test a lot, and there's a lot of zombies in the format. If this thing comes back, I'm just taking
Absolutely.
it and trying to slam some zombones past it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Alright, next up we have another flip card, and we do have a foil. I just peeked back there, but we'll get to that after
Ooh.
this and then the rare. We have Hound Tamer, and I have the showcase version with the special art, but unfortunately, y'all are only
Oh.
going to see the regular one. It's still a beautiful looking card. This is 2 and a green for a 3/3 with trample. And for 3 and a green, you can put a 1/1 counter on target creature. And it has Daybound, and the backside is Untamed Pup, which is a 4/4 with trample. And other wolves and werewolves you control have trample. And it also has the activated ability of the front side, which is 3 and a green, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. This seems quite good. I don't know if that's too slow of an ability. It feels like it's just really solid.
It yeah, I mean the activated ability, it feels superfluous to me. Like it doesn't feel very relevant. But also it's a 3/3 for three with, an ability.
Yeah, a lot
And
of
it can
upside.
flip over to be a 4/4. Yeah.
Like
It
the trample's
yeah.
relevant. The ability is actually relevant. I mean, I'm sure there's situations where I'm like going to play this, then I'm going to pump 4 mana into it when I attack with it, and then my
Yeah.
opponent's going to like blow me out with something. But one thing I do like is that the Daybound Nightbound encourages you to put your mana into giving counters to things.
Yes,
It
absolutely.
gives you
Yeah.
a thing to do when you want to turn day into night, but you have stuff in your hand and you don't want to just spew your mana on nothing. You actually have like stuff to do. And since the ability is on both sides, you don't have to spend all your mana on your turn to do it. You can wait till their turn,
Mm,
use the counters, bluff a combat trick. You could do a lot of stuff. It seems just very versatile, very strong. And I think
yeah.
this has a decent chance of actually being something I pick over the search party captain.
I think I think this is so far my pick. Um yeah, the ability to actually use your mana effectively while still, maintaining the ability to control turning day to night is so relevant. So incredibly relevant. Um and yeah, I mean for all the reasons you said as well, this is kind of like a werewolf lord. Like it doesn't give your werewolves +1/+1, but it does give them all trample. And if you're attacking him with a whole board of werewolves, they might have like one good trade, but do they want to take it? Are you going to pump up that creature? You know, it makes combat math so difficult for them that I think this card's really valuable.
Yeah, trample is a pretty strong ability. All right,
Mm.
now we have our rare, and well, no shade against all the other cards that we've gone through, but I think this one is going to take the spot. This is Adeline Resplendent Cathar.
Ah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, This is one white white for a star 4 with vigilance, with power equal to the number of creatures you control. It is rarely one, I'll tell you that. Because whenever you attack, and that's not just with Adeline, this is at all, including the turn you play it, for each opponent, create a 1/1 white human creature token that's tapped and attacking that player or a planeswalker they control. So, this usually ends up being something ridiculous. Like, I think the lowest I've ever seen it is like a 2/4, and then the highest I think I've seen it is like a 10/4 or something ridiculous like that
Yeah.
in like Midnight Hunt Limited. But this is a really good
Mhm.
card. It's just
Yeah.
insane, and it has vigilance on top of it. So if for some reason you manage to
Yeah.
crack in and your opponent can't kill this immediately, well, it's sticking back home to block as well.
Four toughness, like as we said before, four toughness in this format is so incredibly relevant that Adeline, like if Adeline was a star three, she would lose so much strength here. Um, but as she is, do you know Primaz?
Yes.
The old cat. Yes. This is basically Primaz, right? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't make the thing on block, but it makes it when she can't attack. So it's it's a very powerful card, and
This
I
card is
think so
annoying
far
enough.
this is.
I've seen this card in Brawl. I've seen this card in Commander.
Mm,
I think
mm-hmm.
there's probably people who play it in Standard. I don't play a lot of Standard lately, but if it can see
No.
play in multiple formats, I think it's good enough to be my first pick.
Oh, absolutely. No, this is an absolute slam dunk, I think.
Like, would you play this card if it was just a 2/4? Like just a 2/4 without the power
Yeah.
equal to the things, and then it
Yeah,
also had those
absolutely.
abilities?
Yeah.
And that's like
I like
very
I
uncommon for
I'm
it to be that small.
yeah. I vigilance, I'm such a big believer in vigilance. Like it does everything, you know? It goes on the offense, it goes on the defense. It doesn't even need to enter the danger zone in order to get value for you. Like, I think, yeah, if it was skipping that ability and was just a 2/4 or something, yeah, I would still be playing this
Like
card.
this could be the first creature you play in a game and just be a
Yeah,
1/4, and then the next turn you play a creature and attack, and it's a 3/4 with vigilance, attacking your opponent that already made a creature.
yeah.
It
And if they can't deal with this card immediately, like, she attacks and she creates two power out of nowhere.
Yeah, and
Like,
like, and
every
you're
single turn.
and like you can block a 1/1 token pretty easy, but like you blocked a 1/1, good job. The problem's still
Yeah.
there. It's only going to get more next turn. God forbid they
Yeah.
have more things to play in their hand. Like it's an army in a can that just gets better when you have more of the most common card type in limited.
Yeah.
Ooh, we do
There's
actually
a
have
reason.
one more card,
Mhm.
but go ahead. What you were saying?
I was just going to say there's a reason that Adeline is number one out of 277. Like,
Fair. Our last card is a foil, and this is Vampire Interloper. One and a
ooh,
black, 2/1 flying, can't block.
this card has done serious work.
It does a lot more damage than you would think to your opponent's face.
Mhm.
I mean, after all, it can't block, so swing.
Yeah, you've got no reason to hold it back. As unless you have like sacrifice synergies and that sort of thing, they've got a big blocker. Just send it in.
Yeah,
On
definitely.
turn two, you play a 2/1,
Yeah.
and
Then it attacks
there
till it
aren't,
dies.
yeah, there aren't actually as many flyers as you might expect.
And
Because
then you.
the tribe for white is humans, and
Mm,
humans don't fly, and the tribe for blue is partially zombies, and zombies don't fly.
hmm
And the tribe for green is werewolves, and some werewolves have reach, but not all of them.
Yeah.
This thing just gets in for like 6 damage, 8 damage. I'd pay 2 mana for it.
And then God forbid you have to use a removal spell on this because you're like, I have to spend my whole removal
Mm-hmm.
spell on there too. Now what insane bomb are they going to play after this?
Yeah. I
Yep.
mean, here's the thing. I remember multiple times I would cathartic pyre this. Like I would just try to get rid of this card because actually, yeah, it's actually a problem.
Definitely voted most likely to enter the red zone, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so
Mm-hmm.
we can do another pack or we can continue onward to something else. What do you think?
How long have we been recording? You know,
Well, surprisingly, we took a pretty good amount of time for that one. We are at 30 minutes.
30 minutes. We can do another one if you like.
Hell yeah, you
Yeah.
kidding? It's very fun.
We love cracking packs here. We
Oh
love
yeah.
cracking packs.
And surprisingly, that was all Midnight Hunt cards. A few more uncommons than average. Not very many commons, but
Mm.
it's okay. Ooh, I got a black and white land this time. I gotta
Nice.
admit, the black and white lands are nice, but I do prefer the ones with full color in this set. They're just so beautiful.
Yeah,
Ooh,
absolutely.
well, we have a pretty healthy spread of cards here. Some very interesting ones. And if I find some stuff that's like list or not from this set, would you prefer that I keep them in or what?
Well, let's talk about them. Yeah, let's at least talk about them. Maybe we won't consider it for what's our pick out of this pack, but
Fair. All
we
right,
can.
so our first one is Eaten Alive. And this is
Mm,
a single black mana for a sorcery with, as an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature or pay 3 and a black, exile target creature or planeswalker. Now, the first thing that comes to my mind is Decayed Zombies.
hmm
Like you basically
Absolutely.
sacrifice your stupid zombie that was going to attack and get sacrificed anyway, and you exile any creature or planeswalker for 1 mana. Seems pretty much made for this card. And this,
Yeah.
or rather, this card seems to be made for that mechanic, rather.
Well, absolutely. Like there are so many little creatures that you would rather trade up for here. Like Decayed Zombies, Vampire Interloper, we were just talking, if they play a 2/3 flyer, all right, whatever, I'll play Ethan Alive, trade that for, their 4/4 in the ground. It's, and goodness, if they play a Planeswalker, you better believe I'll trade just about anything
Oh yeah,
for a Planeswalker in this format.
yeah. I played this card to a pretty good amount of success. I was never like angry with it. I never thought it was bad, and I paid 5 mana
Mm.
for it a pretty okay amount of the time. And
Yeah,
like I wasn't ecstatic about it, but it's very versatile. Like this card is
yeah,
never going to be a card where you're like, oh my god, I can't believe I have to play an Eaten Alive. Usually you want them. You want like at least one if you're in black, because the decayed
yeah.
zombies are kind of just stapled to a lot of things. There's a lot of ways to make those. There's like a few
hmm
random mono blue cards that make decayed zombies, aren't there?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. A lot of the scabs and well, some of the scabs
yeah. So
come in,
there's
they make a zombie,
oh
or
yeah.
they exploit something and make a zombie, and
And there's tons of ways to make those, and there's a lot of board
yeah,
states where your zombie won't do anything and you sacrifice it. Just,
hmm
just a really solid card.
exactly.
Very, very. I just
Yeah.
like the design. I really, really love it when
Mm.
a card that you already like would see in a set just meshes extremely well, and this is just like a variant of Bone Splinters that I think is very, very good.
Yeah. One relevant thing over Bone Splinters here is that it exiles the creature.
Yes, that's
So
actually a very big
because
deal.
Disturb, yeah, because Disturb is such a big mechanic, taking out, their big card, maybe it's not really worth it, stats wise on the board. But if you're taking out the backside as well, you're kind of also making them discard a card, which is pretty good.
Yeah, or at least not get that one back, which is for some of these cards is extremely relevant because there's a few of them that are much better on the backside. I think, like at least a couple of them anyway.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Yeah.
Next up, speaking of exile from the graveyard, we have Rotten
Oh.
Reunion. This is
Oh
a
yeah.
single black mana for an instant that says exile up to one target card from a graveyard. Create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. And I did, in fact, side this into a few different games where my opponent had ridiculous graveyard stuff. It also has flashback for 1 and a black. So I think later into the format, I remember people saying that depending on what you have going on, it is worth maybe main decking one of these. And I think, like, I guess with like Eaten Alive and stuff like that, it might be something you might consider. But to me, this is kind of a textbook sideboard card, unless you have things to
Yeah,
do with
I mean,
zombies.
you can. Yeah, that's another way that you can look at this. Is it's kind of 3 mana, make 2 zombies.
Yeah, because
Which, if
it
you've
does
got
say
enough
up to one.
synergies, you might play that. Yeah, you don't actually need to target something, and you can go turn one Russian Reunion, turn two Russian Reunion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's not actually the worst card in the world to me because maybe you get value out of it by getting their disturbed creature, or maybe you just make a couple tutus and be okay with that.
So far, I think I'm still on Eaten Alive, but I don't think Rotten Reunion's bad. It's definitely way far away from just an unplayable card.
Yeah.
Ooh, really like this next one. This next one, more zombie themes. We have Crawl from the Cellar.
Ah, yes.
This is single black mana for a sorcery. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Put a 1/1 counter on up to one target zombie you control. And then it has flashback for 3 and a black. Well, I'm just gonna say it. You don't actually need any zombies in play to make this good. And in fact, when I played this card, there were a lot of times where I ended up putting that counter on a decayed zombie, and it was still fine.
Yeah. I I have I have a bit of a funny story with this card. So I do the proliferate cube,
Mm-hmm.
and it is really hard to find cards that give you graveyard value that also use counters. I don't care if you've got a zombie or not. It says 1/1 counter on the card. You can start putting Crawl from the Cellar, and so far it's done pretty well. Like even without zombies being a major part of the set, like you're going 1 for 1. You're paying 1 mana to kind of tutor a card from your graveyard, and you have a 4 mana version of it later.
Yeah,
It's pretty good. Pretty good.
it is hard to make effects like this like really bad, and I think
Yeah.
between the 1/1 counter and the flashback, this kind of just does always enough to make the cut, at least as like a one
Yeah.
of, unless you just have a absolutely absurd deck that's cramped for space. Raised dead
Mm,
effects are always
yeah.
solid.
Absolutely. And, this is a great top deck in the late game. It's not great in your initial hand necessarily, but in the late game, this is, it's okay. It's 5 mana, draw 2 cards, but it's 5 mana, draw 2 pretty good cards, probably. So, works out.
Yeah. Ooh, all right. Well, if you ask me, I think I'm still on the removal spell in the start of the pack, unfortunately, for Crawl from the Cellar.
Yeah.
But next we have Bramble Armor. This is an equipment. It's also one and a green. We have colored equipments in the set. Very interesting. This was printed in Crimson Vow as well, and also in double
Yes.
feature. I guess, of course, in double feature. I'm
Yeah.
very intrigued by the fact that they would print it in double feature, or rather in Crimson Vow as well as Midnight Hunt, because to be honest, I don't remember playing this card, but it doesn't look extremely impressive on its front face. It's when it enters the battlefield, you attach it to a creature you control. Free equips are always nice. I really like those, but equipped creature gets +2/+1, and it has an equip of 4. 4 equip is a really
Yeah.
hefty cost,
It's
and the
not.
fact that you're getting 1 toughness is, I think, the thing that really kills that for me.
I'm not a big fan of this card, honestly. Yeah, it didn't quite make sense to me why why this card exists, really. It's useful for Coven, I suppose, moving, changing where your power is. I guess that's the most useful or most interesting use case
Yeah,
there.
I just feel like if this
But
is the
it's
best way that I have to do it, I'm just not having a good day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most interesting thing about this card is because it was in both Crimson Vow and Midnight Hunt, it was not only in double feature, it was in double feature twice. So it's double feature number 171 and double feature 455.
You're
And did you
right.
know?
I see that on the right hand side. That's
Yeah. And the Midnight Hunt version is 2 cents more than the Crimson Vow double feature version. Who knows why?
is it
Makes
art?
no
Like, is it
sense
a
to
different
me.
art or something?
It's the same art. The only difference is the number and the set symbol. So
Wow, very nice.
who can say? Who can say?
Very cool. And the art's the same in all of them. It's just a black and white and double feature. That's
Hmm.
certainly interesting. Yeah, I mean, cool. Now I have 4 times as many of these as I ever wanted. Actually,
Exactly.
infinity more because I don't really think I want any of them. Like, kudos to the art direction. It's interesting. And I
Oh,
think
this is gorgeous art,
yeah,
and I wish that it was like a green pacifier or something like that would be really good. But it's not.
yeah,
It's
just
not.
the one toughness. I think like if it was two toughness, maybe I could see this being a marginal playable. But like if I'm playing green, like I don't
Yeah,
really need the equipment that bad. And if I do want an equipment, I definitely don't want it to only give me one toughness.
I do like having like one equipment in a deck. Like it's a good mana sink, and it gives you a lot of flexible ways to play your turn. I don't want it to be equip four. Um,
Hell no.
I want it to be like equip two
It's like
or
your whole
like
turn.
three at the most.
You
Exactly.
know, you know how bad your life has to be where you can equip 4 and still manage to cast a spell. You need to have like
It's
really,
real
really tiny
sad.
spells or so many lands that you just never want to draw another one again.
It's very sad.
All right, next we have Dawnheart Rejuvenator. This is
Oh,
a 4 mana, 2 4, 3 and a green for that 4 mana. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life, and it has tap, add 1 mana of any color. This
sorry. Just gonna.
this I don't remember playing with this card. It's a human
Yeah.
warlock also. It looks like something that I would immediately assume is some kind of werewolf or beast or something, even though the art doesn't look like a werewolf or a beast. But it is a human warlock. Uh, it's pretty.
I'm
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not enthralled by this. I mean, it does get you from it gets you from 4 to 6. That's
Yeah,
the problem. If this was like a 2-3 for 3, I think it would be good because a lot of a lot of good werewolves are on 5 mana.
mm,
But I unless you're doing like 5 color jank pile or something, I just don't think this card's going to be very relevant, unfortunately.
I kind of agree. Like I know that there's sets where a card like this would be at the very least solid, as like a 5 color enabler or something. I want to say in a set like maybe
Yeah.
like Kaldheim or something, a card like this would kind of be exactly what you're
Yeah.
looking to play. I want to say that there was a
Yeah,
card kind of like
exactly.
this in Kaldheim. Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
It definitely was a 5 color tapper in a 5 color mana dork in Kaldheim, but I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Yeah, yeah. I think so far I'm still on the removal spell, which is interesting because now
I
we're
think so.
into the uncommons, and our first uncommon is one that I think is very interesting, and that is Fading Hope. Single blue mana, return target creature to its owner's hand. If its mana value is 3 or less, scribe 1. Um,
This card is a lot better than I thought it was initially.
yeah, like
Um,
on its face, it does not look very good, but it's actually not awful. It's not awful.
yeah,
Uh,
like it's okay. It is good early game. The problem with unsummons is usually early game, they're really bad because sure they give you a tempo advantage,
but the card.
but is it worth a card? Scribe one is worth like I don't know, like a third of a card or something, and I think it kind of like if you're bouncing, something mana value 4 or more for 1 mana, you're probably pretty happy about it. And if it's 3 or less and you're getting like a third of a card out of it, that sounds all right.
Yeah, to me, this is kind of like either a very specific main deck card or a
Mm,
sideboard card against like combat tricks and stuff like that, fight spells if there are any. I don't even remember
definitely.
if there are, but I know that I've been blown out by a few unsummons in my day,
Yeah. There are
and
definitely fight spells,
there's
yeah.
probably also a tempo deck where a card like this, where you get to bounce something back and still crack into your opponent, is definitely not
Mm.
bad.
There's another line of play with this, which is kind of interesting in some of the like if you're doing like a blue black exploit deck, a lot of those exploit triggers are ETB. And if your opponent's say playing werewolves or something, you want to make it daytime, right? But you've just top decked Fading Hope. Well, let's bounce something to my hand, we'll scry a bit, and we'll get an ETB trigger. It's a lot like it's not great, but it does like a one mana spell does help you double spell to turn off werewolves a lot more effectively.
Yeah, you do raise a good point. I hadn't thought about that. You can also just use this like reflexively, defensively to
Mm,
protect your own things. Especially if you have
absolutely.
something with an enter the battlefield trigger, just getting something back to your hand in response to a removal spell. You get to play it
Yeah,
again. Hopefully, you're not under too much aggression, but like having the creature in your hand is better than having it dead.
absolutely. And there are some things that, it's fine to play it out early, but you'd rather play it out later. Like um uh there's an Ivy Elemental version in the set X and a green for it comes in with the X11 counters. And you play it out as a 2/2 early on, but you top deck this at like turn 8 and you're like, okay, I'll turn it into a 6/6.
Hmm.
You know? It's pretty decent.
Yeah, it's pretty good. We get to reset those. Next up,
Yeah.
we have dissipate. One blue blue counter target spell. If it was countered this way, exile it instead. Um,
Yeah.
I think I
This
think
card exists because of
yeah,
Disturb.
I think you could play one of them and not be like horribly disappointed, but I don't think this is a set where counter spells are really at a premium. I think this is like a one of or a sideboard card. I
A
might be
slow
wrong.
set, like yeah. I mean, it's a slow set, and I think playing counter spells is not a terrible idea. The problem is if you're playing blue and I think okay, a lot of things come down to the day night mechanic in this set because it does actually influence a lot of different things at once. If you're holding up mana to cast a counter spell on your opponent's turn, you're not double spelling. You're gonna have a really hard time against werewolf, especially if you're leaving like if you're only casting one spell a turn to get a dissipate off, hopefully on a high value target. You're actually gonna like potentially take a lot more damage.
Do you remember the card Hound Tamer from the last pack, the one that could put one counters on things?
Yeah, absolutely.
Imagine they play a Hound Tamer, and then you have this dissipate in your hand, and you play your third land and pass turn, and then they
And
flip their
they
Hound
just put a
Tamer,
counter on that creature.
and they just turn your
Uh,
4/4 into a 5/5 and hit you with it and say go. You're like, oh,
this is yeah.
okay, all right, I see.
Dissipate, yeah. I don't know if Dissipate makes it into the main board of decks because it is so bad against werewolves, and werewolves are such a force in this set. It's definitely good against like blue black, blue black and black red a little bit. Um, if they're casting a lot of disturb spells or flashback spells, Dissipate is legitimately good. But if they're not, it's just not quite. It's not worth the tempo hit
Juice not
for
worth
it.
the squeeze. I get you.
Yeah, I would say so.
So far out of this pack, I think I'm probably still on the removal spell, the black one in the first bit eaten alive, which is
Mm.
unfortunate, but that's just how it goes sometimes.
It is how it goes.
All right,
Yeah.
so we have speaking of Hound Tamer, that's actually our next card, Hound Tamer.
Nice.
Um,
I think I'm on Hound Tamer here over the removal spell. Um,
Yeah, I think you might be right. I think their removal spell is really solid, but creatures win games of limited, and I think this is definitely a premier one. You don't need a lot of
yeah,
wolves and werewolves to make this good. It helps, but like it
yeah,
puts counters on itself just as well as it puts counters on other things. And it doesn't even say target werewolf or wolf. It just says target creature.
no,
So you just play green,
hmm
play this, uh, gets bigger during the night, puts counters on things, has trample, just a lot
yeah.
of stuff going for it.
I would rather have too many creatures than too many removal spells.
Oh yeah,
So,
oh definitely. Ooh, all right. Next up we have another transform card, and this one is Outland Liberator. This is
uh,
one that I've seen in constructed quite a few times.
yes.
It is a one in
This
a
is a
green.
card that's, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, read out the card. We'll
Fair, fair,
we'll
fair.
talk about it afterwards.
Uh, this is one in a green for a 2/2, and you could pay one and sacrifice it to destroy target artifact or enchantment. And on the back side, it's a 3/3 that also has that ability, and whenever it attacks, destroy target artifact or enchantment defending player controls. This card is really good.
Yeah. Have you been having trouble with Hearse, unless it's Hearse? Have I got an easy fix for you? Play this werewolf. At worst, it's it's a 2-drop that you can sacrifice to destroy it. At best, you don't even destroy it. You just swing in with a 3/3 and just shoot it off of a trigger. If you're if you're having trouble with unless it's Hearse in your meta, try this card. It's really good.
Yeah, this is just an excellent two. It keeps its relevancy
Yeah.
into the late game relatively well by becoming a 3/3. And once you're
hmm
in the late game, it becomes frighteningly easy to make it night whenever you want to, because you just don't play
Yeah.
spells a good amount of the time. And then the activated ability is just a sweet bonus. And then, God forbid you're ever in a position where your opponent plays like some kind of pacifism effect or some kind of like do nothing artifact. Or like, imagine you take the time out of your day to play the Bramble Armor, and then your opponent flips this and attacks. You're like, oh, cool. Not only was my card bad, but they blew it up for free.
Yeah. This
There's
is
a
legitimately, yeah.
there's not
This,
I don't think there's a whole lot of artifacts and enchantments in the set I've seen so far that I'm super duper keen on playing. But if there were any, this would be a card that I would be very afraid of seeing.
yeah. I'm just, I'm just doing a quick search through the set in terms of like the artifacts that are really powerful. There aren't many. There just
Yeah.
aren't many.
I have to imagine most of the
Enchantment.
targets are like the enchantment removal and stuff, right?
Yeah, I remember there were more enchantments that you wanted to deal with. Like there's, borrowed time is an O-ring effect that
Ugh.
you do kind of want to get rid of. Cathar's Call was very good. Gives creature vigilance, and at the beginning of your end step, make a 1/1 white creature token. That's good. Um, but yeah, just there are a lot more auras in this set
Mm.
and a lot more enchantments. So in limited, you're probably going to be hitting enchantment artifacts. But I think in like for a constructed setting or something outside of this limited, you really like this card's just an absolute powerhouse at just chewing through artifacts every day.
Yeah, it's like a free sideboard card that also just makes your deck better just by having it.
Yeah.
Like it turns on day and night, which a lot of people don't really think about it, but like day and night don't just
hmm
exist. Day and night only exist once you play day and night cards.
Yeah, if you can set it up so that it's already nighttime for you to play your first werewolf out, especially against like a red deck, say that, is dealing damage as its removal, it's infinitely harder to actually take something out once it's already nighttime.
So far, I think this might actually be a card I might consider taking over the
Yeah.
Hound Tamer.
That's definitely a respectable pick, yeah. I think I'm still on the Hound Tamer just in terms of signaling. I would rather take the Hound Tamer over the Outland Liberator because in the end, I want both these cards. And I think if I pick the Outland Liberator, it's more likely someone's going to grab that and be like, "Oh, they're not in werewolves," and take it. So,
Well, unfortunately, we're in the same situation we were in the last pack because now we have a card that, well,
ah,
it wins Poppet Stitcher.
ah,
Yeah,
Puppet Stitch is such a fun card.
it's a very cool card and it's very fun. It's just too bad that it destroys games of Limited super easily.
Yeah. Hey, if you see a mythic, probably pick a mythic.
Yeah.
There's some mythics that you don't want to pick in limited, but this is not one of them. This one's fine.
Oh, this one's incredible.
Oh,
It's 2 and a blue for a 2/3. They could have made it a 2/2 very easily. I think a lot of cards like this I would expect to be 2/2s, but no, it has 3 toughness. Good for it. And whenever you cast
yeah,
an instant or sorcery, you create a 2/2 with Decayed. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more creature tokens, you may transform it. And when it transforms, it becomes an artifact, no longer a creature, can't be exploded. Uh, by like creature removal. And creature tokens you
yeah,
control lose all abilities and have base power and toughness 3/3. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may transform it back. Now, the
yeah.
notable thing here is that those decayed tokens no longer have decayed once this thing flips into Poppet Factory, and they just are 3/3s you can attack and block with as you damn well please.
This card is such a menace. So,
That
so
and that's how it kills
powerful.
people. That's the way that it kills people. You just
Yeah,
you make some tokens. Suddenly you got like 3/3/3s with no
yeah,
abilities. You're like, oh, all right. Now I guess all these stupid decayed zombies are going to murder me,
yeah,
and I can't attack.
yeah. Other ways to use this card. It's not always decayed zombies as well.
Yeah,
There's a lot of 1/1 human tokens in this set. I think there's a couple like 2/2 wolves.
yeah.
There's like it's pretty easy to get 3 creature tokens out, especially if you're getting one every time you say cast a cantrip or you know, cast basically anything, any instant or sorcery. You're gonna easily ramp this up. I've seen someone um play this one turn and in the next turn cast 3 spells, like cast 3 instants, and in the turn after that swing for 9 with the 3 zombie tokens they made.
It's
It's
disgusting.
powerful, powerful beyond belief.
Yeah. Um.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one takes the cake easily. There's another card behind this, but it doesn't even come vaguely close, and that is Mystic Skull. An artifact for 2 mana. Uh, you can tap it
Oh yeah.
and pay 1 to add 1 mana of any color. You can pay 5 and transform it to become a 5/6 with lands you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. It's a really pretty card in foil. And it's got very
Yeah.
cool art and it's like a cool concept, but it is no Puppet Stitcher, I'll say that.
No. Color fixes aren't very good. I don't think I ever saw anybody succeed at doing 5 color pile in this set. And that is the only deck that I could see really wanting Mystic Skull.
Like
Like,
it
I don't
looks
think they really want a 7 mana 5/6, you know.
like it looks like they tried to like have it be a thing that you wouldn't mind taking, like because like obviously the point in the early game is you play it and it fixes your mana, and then in the late game when
Mm,
you don't need the mana fixing you pay 5 and transform it. But it like all of the things it does are just not good enough. Plus when you transform it it's still tapped
yeah,
because you have to
exactly.
tap to
You can't even
transform.
block it. Yeah, it's not exile and return it transformed. It's just, yep, it's in there. It's tapped. You can do it at instant speed, so you can do it in their end step and then attack immediately, but like, uh,
Yeah,
yeah, this card's, it's not doing it for me.
if you're losing to this card, more things are going wrong than the Mystic Skull is responsible for. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, a little unfortunate that we ended up taking rares there both times, but you know, they were both really good. I mean, no Meat Hook
They were both
Massacres,
very
but
good. Oh well. They can't all be meat hook massacres, sadly.
indeed. All right, and for the next section here, I do not play Flesh and Blood, and Laura does. So what we're going to do is I'm going to be sent six cards from Flesh and Blood, and I'm going to try and evaluate them as best as I can using the very, very limited pool of knowledge that I've managed to extract from looking at these two cards that have already been sent and asking some basic questions about how resources work and what attacking and blocking is and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, without any further ado, Laura,
All
go
right,
ahead and send the first one over.
here we go. So the first card we've got is Herald of Tenacity.
Oh dear. That's has some words on it, that's for sure.
This has some words on it. I'll explain to you. So it costs 2.
Yeah.
It pitches for 1, comes in for 6, and blocks for 3.
Okay.
It has Dominate. So when you attack with this, your opponent can only block with 1 card out of their hand. If it hits, put it into your hero's soul. We're not going to worry about that yet. That ability isn't super relevant just for this card, and it has Phantasm. So if your opponent blocks with a card with an attack action card with 6 or more attack, you just destroy Herald of Tenacity, and it just completely ends your turn.
Hmm.
So for those at home who haven't played Flesh and Blood, the number in the top right corner is how much it costs. The color in the top left, the number of pips in the top left corner is how much you can discard it to get some resources for. Bottom left is how much it attacks for and how much it blocks for.
So the discard, so it's like a maximum
Yeah.
of 3 ever?
What do you mean? Sorry.
Like so I see like 3 little.
Oh yeah, the 3 little pips. Yeah.
So it's a max of 3 and a minimum of
Yes, you can
0, I
you
guess.
can yes, there are technically there's basically some super legendary cards that pitch for 3 and a tiny other benefit.
Interesting.
But yeah,
But that's like
3 is the
denoted inside
normal.
the card box basically,
Yes, yeah,
and you
that
discard this.
it's 3, yeah, it's 3 plus and a scry 1, or it's 3 plus a bit more basically. But yeah, 3 is the maximum.
All right, well, um, I'm gonna say that this one is. Hmm, I don't think this one's very good. I want to say that this one is not good. And the reason I want to say that,
Sadly, yeah. Okay.
the reason I want to say
Sorry.
that is because I feel like dominate is actually not that crazy of an ability. Well, let me. I guess I want to quantify this by asking a couple of questions. Can you only
Go.
put down one thing to attack with, or can you do basically as many things as you have resources for?
So, so normally with this card, you could only attack once a turn, because this will cost your action point for the turn.
Hmm.
But in the decks that it is run in, you circumvent that by getting additional action points.
Okay.
So you're in this deck, you can usually attack with 2 a turn, basically.
Okay. Oh, also, is there a limit on the number of cards of a particular name that you can run in a deck?
Yes, there's 2 different types. So there's 2 main types of Flesh and Blood. There's Blitz and there's Classic Constructed. Classic Constructed is 40 health starting, and you have 60 cards in your deck, and you can have 3 of each type. So you can have 3 Herald of Tenacities that pitch for 1. You can have 3 Herald of Tenacity pitch for 2, and 3 that pitch for 3. So those actually all count as kind of separate cards for this. And in Blitz, it's all the same except you start at 20 life and you can only have 2 of each of those.
Okay, but wait, you said a Herald of Tenacity that you can pitch for 2?
Yes, so there's some cards that, basically all the commons, you can pitch for different amounts. but it changes some number on the card. So for Herald of Tenacity, it loses a point of damage every time you go up a resource it pitches for. So yellow one attacks for 5, and the blue one attacks for 4. Sorry, red,
Interesting.
yellow, blue are the they've got a strip along the top which tells you how much they pitch for.
That's interesting indeed. Okay. Yeah. Um, I am unable or unfamiliar with a way that this would be immensely powerful. I guess if there's a way for you to deploy multiples of these in one turn, or a way to abuse action points in a manner where the dominate ability, which I assume has to be the bread and butter of this, it's like the only thing that even seems vaguely close to being busted about it, can be abused.
Dominate's so this card is good. It's good. Um, Dominate is a very strong ability because you can block from your hand and you have you end up with a lot of control over what your life total is. So you can get down to 1 life, use your life as a resource, and come back swinging very hard. But dominate, it means if they go down to 1 life, well, they can only block with a 3 block from their hand. That's 3 damage going through, and dominate can end games very well.
And
Yeah,
is Phantasm not really a consideration?
Phantasm. Phantasm is a consideration. In some matchups, you just lose because all of their attacks are 6 or more. And in some matchups, it literally doesn't matter, and you just play it out because it doesn't matter. It's a very interesting ability, and it interacts with different classes in very unique.
Interesting.
Yeah,
However, this card is
all right.
definitely like it sees a healthy amount of play.
Yeah. So, uh, there's a few different versions of this deck. So this card is played by a hero called Prism, and there's like 3 different decks that Prism plays. She can play an all aura deck, which is about building up permanence on the board, or there's an all heralds deck, which is all about just sending big attacks at their face, and then there's sort of like a mid-range deck in between. And Herald of Tenacity usually sees play in every deck there.
Fair enough. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm content to move on to the next one if you are.
All right, absolutely. So our next card is V of the Vanguard. Once it loads up.
All right. We have
So
V of the Vanguard. Okay. Well, one discards for two. This is also yellow. I don't know what that implies about the other versions of it, if there are any, but I'm just gonna go
this
ahead and
one doesn't, yeah, this one doesn't have other versions. This one's just what it is.
okay. Bolton specialization. Only have the Vanguard in your deck if your hero is Bolton. Okay, so it can only be played with specifically Bolton as your hero. I don't
Yes.
know anything about Bolton. Um,
Yeah. So Bolton's thing is about charging the soul. So they're putting cards from your hand into basically an extra exile zone, which is called the soul, and then using those cards as a resource in order to, say play extra attacks or get a little bit of extra resources, that sort
okay, so when you charge your hero's soul, does it stay charged?
yes, so charging is the action of putting a card into your soul.
Yeah,
Um
and it stays there. So
yeah.
like if you do like two of those in one turn and three in another turn, it'll be a total of five across those turns going forward.
Yes. So not for so for Via the Vanguard, it only counts the number of cards that you've charged this way. So with Via the Vanguard.
Okay,
Um so it is cumulative, and they do stay in your soul the whole time.
but for V,
So
it only
they are a
counts for
permanent.
V.
Yeah, V, it only counts the cards that you've charged with V. Um,
That
yeah.
seems like an annoying tracking thing, but otherwise, not too complicated.
Yeah.
All right. Let's three with three. Hmm. Now, for reference, you did tell me that at the end of your turn, you can draw up to a maximum of four cards till
Yeah.
you
So
reach
you
the
fill up
till you
your
reach four.
hand. Yeah,
Yeah.
you fill up your hand to 4 cards. Yeah.
Hmm. And you can only
So
play three of these inside your
yeah.
deck, and you're also okay. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if this is good, it's only because Bolton has other ways to abuse the uh, the charges.
Mm.
And with that in mind, I want to say that it is.
Yeah. So this card is also good, I would say. It's it's a combo piece. So there's a combo that you can perform where basically you place out a whole bunch of stuff that will give you value in the future, and then you use Via the Vanguard to buff up your attacks for that turn and swing in for more damage than your opponent's going to be able to block. Um, it also means, yeah, Via the Vanguard is a contentious card, but it has certainly had its time in the sun, and I would say it's a pretty strong card.
So like, you can't just charge your hero's soul for free, right? Like, you have to have a
No,
thing that tells you to do it.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
and this is the
absolutely,
thing that
yeah,
tells you to do it, so it's an enabler and it also is the
yeah.
payoff.
And sometimes you just want to dump 3 cards into your soul so that next turn or the turn after you can, get your value off of it and really go to town.
Yeah, because it makes
It's
the
great.
other cards that care about your charge better as well, in addition to itself.
Absolutely.
And it also only
Yeah.
costs one resource, which I think is probably
It
the
is
reason that it's
that's a
good.
it's worth a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if this was
Because
two or three, I think it'd be much worse.
there are a few ways in the game to get, one free resource. Um Basically, so each hero brings some equipment as well, and some of the very good equipment allows you to get, one free resource every few turns, basically, and you wait for that to tick up, and then you go in with.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
like generally speaking, a resource is going to be a card from your hand.
usually,
Yeah,
yes, yeah,
so anything that costs one, I have to assume automatically is worth reading the rest of.
absolutely, yeah.
All right, cool. All right, one for two. See if I can redeem myself with the next few. Go ahead and send me the
All
next
right,
one.
next one we've got is Soul Food. So it costs 0. It pitches for 2. It blocks for 2, but this doesn't attack. This just puts soul food and all the cards in your hand into your hero's soul. What do you think? What do you think? Is it good?
I think this
Is
is
it
bad.
not? Why do you think it's bad?
I think like the idea is that I think they made this because it looks like something that you want to do to enable stuff, but then when you actually start to try to play it, it is either clunky or the best use you have for it is discarding it for two resources. I just feel like
But
if you want to put cards in your hero's soul, there are just better ways to do it than this. There has to be.
this card's terrible. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're absolutely
Like
correct.
we just
This
saw a
card,
card that is much better at doing this. It costs only one
yeah,
resource.
and this one, yeah. Sure, it puts a lot of cards in your soul, and that's really good. But
And you don't have them in
like,
your hand.
yeah, You've just skipped your turn to do that. That's not
Yes.
worth it. Like,
And like you do have to spend an action point to do this, right?
yeah, you have to spend your action point, but it doesn't matter if it spends your action or not, really, because it's not like you're doing anything after this. You don't have any cards.
Well, I guess like the question there was like, could you do something else and then do this? Because then like
Oh,
maybe
you
the
could,
discard
yeah,
isn't as bad, but then like you're not getting as much out of your discard either. So
this card's
it just
just
feels
not
like a
very
this all
good,
around.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
Yeah, this card just doesn't quite work, sadly.
this is like a card that only gains life. It's
Yes, basically. Basically.
too
All
easy.
right. Too easy. You got this. You got this. All right. On to the next one. This is actually a pair of cards together.
Okay.
So, because it doesn't make sense otherwise. So, belittle and minnowism. There it is. So, belittle.
All right.
Yeah.
This is
So,
one discard
so
for
it costs
one,
one.
three,
Yeah.
two. Okay. Um, go again. I see some bold text at the bottom that says "go again" and
Yes.
it doesn't
So
have a
go again.
period
Yeah.
after
So
it.
go again. Yes.
Just get
So
another
go
action
again
point.
is when you play. Yeah. When you play this card, you get another action point afterward.
All right. Well, that seems like a combo piece. Like I haven't even read the other bit of it, but I can already see like it costs one. It says "go again." It, I don't know how
Yeah.
much more I need to read, but I'm
Okay.
gonna read the
All
rest.
right.
I'm gonna read the
Okay.
rest. As an additional cost to play Belittle, you may reveal an attack action card with 3 or less base power from your hand. If you do, search your deck for the other card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Does it have 3? Okay, so is no power less than 3?
Um. Yes. So no power is because it's not an attack.
No,
It
but
just
it can't
doesn't
attack.
have. Yeah. So it's not an attack action card, so you can't reveal it
Yeah.
to
All right.
belittle.
Cool. That,
Yeah.
that was that
Yeah.
was like the reason I was asking. Obviously, that
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
sense to ask.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
then minnowism 0. Pitch for 1. Next attack action card with 3 or less base power. Replays. Turn gains +3. Go again.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And these all come in different colors as well, so they pitch for different amounts.
Okay. Well. Hmm. So, I feel like you have to build around this not like way too heavily, but if you ever draw minnowism without the belittle, man, I guess it really depends on how many things with 3 attack base or less. I mean, we did just look at um, V of the
We have just
Vanguard.
looked at one via the Vanguard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Belittle seems immediately like a combo piece. It seems like you're kind of just supposed to take this thing and find a way to go off with it. Because like you don't need a whole
Yeah.
lot of resources and you could just play all of your belittles. And
Mm.
then as a extra bonus. So, minnowism as a generic action, you have to do that uh, before all of the like the response things happen, right?
Yes. So this isn't like an attack reaction, so you can't play it in combat. You have to play this before you attack.
And minnowism also costs. Well, it has go again, so I guess you could do that anyway. Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, if you
Yeah.
have your
That's all right.
three, if you have your 3, if you somehow end up with
Three
your 3
belittle.
belittles, you also get all 3 of your minnowisms if they aren't in your hand as well.
Hmm.
And the go again, and since it costs 0, is kind of like a free roll. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
ahead and say that both of these together are somewhere between medium and really good. I don't think these are bad.
I I think okay, you're correct. But not necessarily for the reasons you think. So I kind of tricked you here by giving you the red version. Um, the red version of Belittle sees play, but minnowism, you really want the blue version as well. Because
Why?
what Belittle does is it costs you one resource,
Hmm.
and then it searches your deck for something that could pitch for three resources. So
So it
this
is a
is
combo.
kind of a ramp. So
I
this
was
is
right.
kind of a ramp card. Yeah, it's kind of a ramp card, and the little has actually. People didn't realize this at first. It took quite a ramp up, really, but Belittle is now one of the most important combo pieces in the entire game because it can search up either something, a bit more power, or just searches up something to ramp you into a bigger card,
I nailed it.
which which is just great. You nailed it.
I,
You got
I,
this.
I didn't nail it for the reasons exactly that I thought I did, since I only had knowledge of
Yeah.
the minnowism
Yeah, you only
that I
had
saw.
so
But
much knowledge.
I
Yeah.
mean, like, cost one gives you another action, tutors a card from your deck. Like, you're checking all the boxes here. There's no way it wasn't going to be at least
It
passable,
really
right?
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
All right,
All
sweet.
right.
Well,
And last
I'm doing
yeah.
good here. Like, come on.
You are doing good. All right, last but not least, we have the legendary. It's not actually a legendary, that's a card type. We have Rock. Rock.
Okay,
Rock is friend,
rock.
okay? Let's look at this.
Once per turn,
So
you
this
spend
yeah, so this is yeah.
three resources, and you can attack. And I guess it has seven attacks. So this stays on the
Yeah.
board.
Yes, so this is a weapon. So you start the game with this. It's just on the field next to your hero at all times.
Okay, and damage that would be dealt by rock can't be prevented. Does that what is that? Does that mean that it circumvents blocks?
Um, no, no. So you can still block the damage. It means there's some cards in the game that
That
say
say prevent the
the next
damage when it
time you
doesn't
would
work.
take damage, prevent like damage or something. Yeah,
Okay,
there are cards that do that.
and so what does 2H mean?
2H. So there are one-handed weapons, two-handed. This is a two-handed one. There are some one-handed weapons, so you can come out with two weapons out. So like a ninja with two daggers, or a warrior with two axes, say.
Okay, well that makes
But you can
that
only
makes
have
sense.
one rock. There is only one
Oh,
rock.
of course. I mean, how could I possibly hold two rocks? It's impossible.
Absolutely. It's absurd, honestly.
Okay, so hmm. Oh, do you have to use an action point to pitch a card to get
Yes.
resources?
Yes. Uh no, pitching so you can only pitch a card when you're paying cost for something. You can't just pitch randomly.
Okay. All right. And at the beginning of the game, you start with four cards?
Yeah.
Okay, so four cards. Um, Interesting. Now, if you end up with multiple actions, you could theoretically use the once per turn action ability, or is it just a once per turn, like
This
colon
is
action?
strictly a once. Yeah, this is strictly once a turn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a pretty hefty cost. And you can only activate it if you have no cards in hand. I feel like it's this has some pretty hefty requirements to be good here. It feels like a whole lot of setup.
Mhm. So what are you feeling? Not so good?
Um, so this just occupies a slot inside your deck like anything else. It doesn't occupy like a special zone or
Yeah,
something.
it does. What? No. So it does occupy a special zone. You can bring, you can only bring two hands worth of weapons with you.
Okay, so
Um,
like it's like it sits in like the command zone or something.
Basically, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Well, that changes a
There are
lot of
some
things.
equipment. Yeah, you start the game with this out. Yeah,
Okay. It's just on the field?
yeah. It's just on the field. It's just in
Oh,
there.
okay.
It's a rock.
Yeah, I mean, I just wasn't sure if you had to like draw it and then like empty it out your
No, no.
hand after playing it,
Yeah.
and then okay. I mean, with that in mind, I'd say it definitely goes up a whole lot in my estimation. Like if it was inside your deck, I think this would just be completely unplayable. I think it'd just be like, oh,
Yes,
cool.
I definitely agree with you.
Uh,
All right, so what's your final verdict here?
um, hmm. 3 resources to attack, 7 no cards in hand. Yeah, I think this is a good build around. I'm gonna just take a gamble and say that this is a good build around.
Well, I can't say with confidence, but at the moment, this card looks bad. Um, so this is one of the cards that set coming out. Um, and there's been a lot of speculation. There's been a lot of people talking about it, but at the moment, it doesn't look good, unfortunately. The fact that you can only activate it if you have no cards in hand means that you need to basically run your hand out perfectly to then pay 3 resources and then attack with rock. So it just, as it stands, it doesn't look like it's gonna work out, which is a real shame because I would love to, just hit people with a rock.
Now, I could be wrong about this, but I feel like this card specifically, if it isn't good now, it just needs like the right set of enablers.
Absolutely.
Like,
I mean, with the way that Flesh and Blood's rotation system works, this card basically, as far as we have the information now, it's basically never going to leave. So, Classic, Constructed, and Blitz are eternal formats, basically. So, Rock will always be available, and at some stage, Rock's gonna be good.
yeah.
Rock's gonna be pretty
I mean, I
good.
don't have any context on what some of the other weapons are, so like, if this was the only weapon, I think it couldn't not be good. Just because, like,
Yes.
well, what are you doing otherwise? But without knowing what the other weapons are, I just had to go off
Yeah.
what like the actual card says.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. This is the problem with this format, but it's still a lot of fun to to go through and see how you feel about it.
Yeah, fair, cool. Well, that was actually really interesting. I think I did relatively well, all things considered,
You
having
did.
never
I
even
think you
looked
did
at a
really
flesh and
well.
blood
Yeah,
card before.
absolutely. No, I think you did very well there.
Thank you. All right, and next up we have some cards from the Warhammer 40k Commander Deck series. These are cards that I think you should probably consider buying instead of buying the decks if you haven't bought the decks already, because the decks are actually really pricey still, much pricier than they were when I bought them, and definitely
Mm,
than when you purchased them as well.
yes, absolutely.
With that in mind,
Yeah.
the first up is Vexillus Praetor, which I think everyone's kind of heard about this one already and knows that it's pretty
Yeah.
obviously strong. So I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to get it out of the way immediately. It also doesn't hurt that it's at the end of the list since this is alphabetical. It's
Yes.
3 and a white for a 3/4 with Flash and Vigilance, which the Flash on this just makes it uh, more of a beating than I think it needed to be. Uh, and commanders you control have protection from everything.
This
Um,
card's really good.
yeah, so I don't actually know how it works with Planeswalker commanders, but I have a feeling it works exactly the way you want it to.
I'm pretty sure it does. Yeah. Um, it turns out your commander, anything that start like anything that starts the game in your command zone, other than like companion. So from uh D&D Baldur's Gate,
Hmm.
those enchantments like choose a background. Those backgrounds are also your commanders. So Vexillus Praetor can double duty and protect those as well if you
Yeah, and
um
like your planeswalker just no longer takes damage from being attacked. That's
yeah.
yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty decent. It can't be shot with removal. It it still, ticks down. It's still but they're not going to be able to do anything until they get rid of this Praetor is kill on sight.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
real.
very important.
It just feels like
Yeah.
if you're playing white and you care about having your commander live, you probably want to play it. It's like a white counterspell for.
Yeah, there's a similar card in green
Yeah, yeah.
that was printed a while ago. It gives your commander, I think it's +2/+2 and hexproof, I think. And it's a 3 drop. And yeah, it does a very similar thing where it just like you blank one piece of removal that was already going at your commander, and then they have to spend another piece of removal on this guy before they can then deal with your commander. This yeah, these cards are worth a lot. Like it's at minimum a 2 for 1.
And then
Uh
randomly it also has vigilance tacked on. Like, oh, okay,
yeah.
sure, whatever.
It attacks, it blocks.
I don't know how much this card is going for, but probably worth picking up because it's looks a little difficult to reprint as a Custodes warrior.
Yeah, this one's not this one's not gonna get a big reprint anytime soon. I do like as a person who plays Custodes in Warhammer 40k, the tabletop game. Um, I do like that Custodes is now a subtype, a yeah, a subtype I can choose for my creatures in Vintage.
Yeah,
But aside from that,
play your Cavern of Souls.
yeah, exactly. Put it on Custodes.
Yeah.
You can also put it on Gamer now, accidentally.
Oh, magic, never change. Can't wait
Uh,
to turn my Travis Scott and crew my battle bus and
oh, it's gonna be so good. Did you know that with the new Post Malone Secret Lair, Post Malone is now a minion, like officially, like one of his subtypes is minion. So I guess he's got to paint himself yellow and put on overall. Weird.
I was having a good day, and then you said that. I
Ah,
am kidding.
I must spread the good word of minion Post Malone.
Yeah, you're
So,
definitely spreading words. I don't know if I would call them good, but I can appreciate that that
ah,
exists. Ooh, here's another interesting one. Definitely not as good as the last, but cool nonetheless. Ultramarines Honor Guard. That's
I
three
don't
and a
think I
white.
saw this one.
It's 3 and a white for a 2/2 with Squad 2, and it says other creatures you control get +1/+1, and Squad is uh, as an additional cost to cast it, you may pay 2 any number of times. When it enters the battlefield, create that many tokens that are copies of it.
I
Um,
think this card is super cool.
it's really cool. Like pretty much like any kind of like creature based white deck, you have this
Mm,
on 4 if you just want an anthem effect, and then at any point later in the game, cool, you get 2 of them. And unless your board is swept, in which case like you still only lost this one card and whatever was on your board anyway. If they
yeah,
use like a targeted removal spell on this, well, the tokens are still there, and they all give +1/+1. So you get 2 of these, they give each other +1/+1, and you got a pair of 3/3s. You
yeah.
get 3 of these, and then you
It's
have 3/4/4s. And then
yeah.
it ramps very, very well. I think
Even
Squad's a very cool ability.
absolutely, I think squads are really interesting. That like I don't think this is ever going to see like one play, but in Commander, like super cool, super relevant, really interesting. I do want to say, so at 4 mana, it's a 2/2, not great. At 6 mana, it's 6/6 worth of stats. That's pretty decent. At 8 mana, it's 9/9 worth of stats. So
Oh,
you
12,
kind
12.
of, sorry, 12/12.
Yeah, because
Three, yeah, it's 3 times 4. Yeah,
yeah,
no, you're right. It's 12/12, and it like the more you pump into it, it's kind of yeah, it's a multiplicative output as well because you're not only getting the body, but you're bumping all the other bodies as well.
yeah.
I think this card works super well.
Like and like this is a casual commander card. It is. Like this is like
Yeah.
fun like battle cruiser magic tables. Like put this in
Mm.
your you put this in your Adeline commander deck, I guess. And
Yeah, I
it's
mean
not
this.
uncommon to get to 8 mana in very casual games of Commander, or even more than
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
And if you do, and
Like
like,
this.
oh, cool, now my team's +3/+3, and they can't blow up one of my creatures and ruin that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this card dies to Wrath of God, but you know what? There are very few cards that don't. So,
Like, compare this to Intrepid Adversary, which is a card
mm,
notably from Midnight Hunt. It's like the one where like it comes in and you pay one and a white any number of times, and creatures you control get
yes.
+1/+1 for each time.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Yeah,
just like better.
it is. It's this is A, way more interesting,
Yeah,
and B, like, yeah, better.
I mean it costs more on the face, but only by 1 mana. I think isn't Intrepid Adversary 3? I don't know. Either way, it's really cool
Um,
and really interesting. I think it's
I
worth picking
think
up if
I
you want to do
yeah,
white token stuff.
absolutely. This is also so Vex. I was having a quick look. At the Vexillus Praetor is a moderately expensive card, kind of because it goes into everything. If you're running a token, might be, or you're running like Warrior Tribal or something, Ultramarines Honor Guard. Actually, it's actually reasonably. It's not too expensive, like under $2. So
Yeah, pretty sweet. Ooh, here is our first super spicy one, and I wanted to stay away from the legendary creatures, but I think
mhm.
this one is something you can put in the 99 of a lot of decks and still make it really good instead of just shoving in the command zone, and that is Trazyn the Infinite or Trazyn. I don't play Warhammer. I wouldn't know if this is the wrong pronunciation.
I don't know. I don't think I've come up against. I think I would say Trazen. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a 4 black black for a 4/6 with Death Touch, for a legendary
Mhm.
artifact creature Necron, and as long as it is on the battlefield, it has all activated abilities of all artifact cards in your graveyard.
Yeah.
Um, it's
This card is nuts.
it's
This
pretty
card's
hard to imagine
insane.
this card not doing things in Commander.
Ah,
I don't think there's a world where this card is just, oh, I never think about this one. If you're playing black, if you're playing any kind of weird artifacty combo stuff, you probably want this. There aren't a lot of things that say you can play the activated abilities of artifacts from your graveyard. I feel like there's a billion ways to combo with this, and I haven't thought of any of them.
I mean, you just get like Staff of Domination and literally any mana rock that taps for more than one, and you instantly go infinite. Um, it's this card is
Finally,
so easy to go infinite with.
finally, a way to go infinite with Staff of Domination.
Wow. But the thing is, they can destroy Staff of Domination, and then you play this afterwards, and you have a
Yes,
second of.
I was just messing with you. I just think it's funny,
No,
but like,
no,
it is
no,
just
no.
another way to
Yeah, yeah.
enable more combos. Like more ways to enable more combos is always good.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely a card I think
That's even.
is
Yeah.
probably going to see a considerable amount of play, and it
Mm,
is in the most expensive deck right now. This deck's sitting at like what was like $116 or something ridiculous like that.
yeah. But if you're after some combos, this card is only apparently $5.61 USD at the moment.
Fair,
So you can
it's
probably snag it for a bit of a deal.
oh yeah. I would say for $5 you could do an appropriate amount of degenerate stuff with it. Ooh,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
this next one's a little bit of a spicy, interesting one. This is a Toxicrene, three
Oh,
and a
yes,
green for
yes,
a
yes.
2/4 with Reach and Death Touch, and it has all lands have tap, add 1 mana of any color, and lose other abilities. All other abilities.
Yeah.
So,
This card does a lot.
so like, if you don't play a lot of Commander, it might seem like this card doesn't do a lot of things, and depending on what tables you're at, it might not do that much. But it really does. There's a lot of lands that do some messed up stuff, and it
Yeah.
also randomly can just make your colors better. And there's a lot of commanders that
Yeah.
want that as well. This is just a really a fun one.
Yeah. Are you tired of Field of the Dead? Do I have the card for you? This card is great, and it's not Blood Moon, so it's okay. You can be like you can be moral with it, you know?
And there's like it's not glacial chasm, is it? It's like the
Yeah,
one with
Glacial
yeah,
Chasm.
glacial
Yeah.
chasm, and then there's like even like tabernacle, like it,
There's so
if
many
you have a
good
person at your
lands.
table that plays tabernacle, you
Yeah.
can play this card, and
Uh-huh.
they won't
If
have
your yeah,
tabernacle.
if your deck has yeah, if your deck has three colors in it, and you've got this card, just throw it in. Like it's gonna fix your mana. It's gonna make someone's day harder, and you know this does the Blood Moon Urza Saga thing where it just inst kills Urza Sagas. If you're tired of that coming back over again, Toxic Queen's a good option.
Oh, and also bounce lands get much
Oh
worse.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they just become Rainbow Land. I mean you could play this alongside Backland because if Toxic Queen ever gets removed, well now they're just normal bounce lands too. So that's all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but notably, like the point of the bounce land for your opponent is that it's one land that taps for two, and they spent like a whole turn's worth of tempo basically getting that down
Yeah.
and putting another one in their hand. So
Yes.
you're kind of chopping that land in half when you play this, which is really funny for you and not so fun for them. But that's kind of the
That's
point.
so fun for that.
Toxicrene is a
Yeah.
it's deceptively strong, and I like it.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited that we've got a Blood Moon effect in green now. Like they've always been in red, and there's like one in black. And now we've got a green version. It is on a creature, so it is kind of vulnerable. But this card does work. And I could okay, slight prediction hours here. I could see this being a run as a one of in legacy decks.
Hmm.
Um specifically for Green Sun Zenith packages, where they run this just to throw down as basically a tutor Blood Moon.
Yeah, like stop like Merit Lage and all that stuff.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
either you combo it with your own Merit Lage or you just stop them from doing anything basically. Like turn off Field of the Dead, turn off Urza Saga, turn off like uh all the soul lands, everything that, taps the two mana. This card does a lot.
This card does have
And hey,
one downside.
mm,
If your opponent's playing Temple of the False God, it might actually do something.
this is very true. Yeah, it helps players who have terrible. Yeah,
All dumb jokes aside, I really like this card. We're gonna go ahead and go
yeah,
on
this
to the
card's
next
great.
one.
Absolutely.
Oof. Here we go. Here's a 7 mana card here. Um, Technomancer,
Mm.
which is a really great name. This is a 7 mana Necron wizard that's a 5/1, and when it enters the battlefield, mill 3 cards, then return any number of artifact creature cards with total mana value 6 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now,
That's a
notably,
lot.
yeah, it says artifact creatures, but that's not that restrictive. And there's a lot of really good artifact creatures in Magic's history, and obviously you're not gonna pay 7 mana for this a lot of the time. You're gonna combo with this thing a lot.
Yeah, this is not a cast trigger. This is an enter the battlefield trigger,
Yeah,
which means you're flickering this, you're getting stuff back very quickly.
yeah,
If you play this with like Ornithopter, Memnite, any of the like creature eggs, zero cost artifacts, they're all free here. Like it's not like they're all free, and you can rip through your deck incredibly quickly if you have a Crackland Ironworks out. If you've got something that can turn you know these creatures into mana,
Yeah,
flicker this guy, and you just keep looping through your deck. You'll mill 3 cards each time. You're gonna find eventually,
yeah.
and just combo off.
It just seems very easy to turn this into a loop where you're continually doing the same thing over and over. And the 7 mana, like, it looks like they wanted to make it 7 mana so it's not easily abusable. Newsflash, you're playing black. Uh, it is abusable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think they made it. Yeah, they were gonna make it 7 mana. They were gonna make it cost 1 more mana than it get back, so it can't just loop itself over and over.
Yes.
But
But
yes.
still, I think it definitely is a card that you're going to see it at a commander table at some point, and it's going to do something broken, and you're going to be like, oh,
Oh,
okay, understandable.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Ooh, here's a fun one. This is kind of just a rebranded classic, Space Marine Scout. 2 and a white for a 2/1 with first strike and vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than you may search your library for a plains card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle.
Everyone loves
Are you playing
this
white?
fact.
Do you like lands?
Yeah,
Play it. That
brilliant. This card is super cheap at the moment. People haven't, decided that this is worth it. Like it's an uncommon, so you'd think, oh no, there's only one per deck.
yeah. I mean,
I,
like
I would I would get in early and I would pick one of these up.
I want to say
It's
that
it's
there's like
legitimately a good.
two effects like this already, but it puts it onto the battlefield tap. Like Knight of the White Orchid does it, and I don't think it comes in tapped. I don't know. I don't like, but like the effect
Uh,
is good, and mono white decks
yeah,
they're hard up. Like, let's be
absolutely.
honest, this
This
is a
is
card you're gonna play
yeah.
in mono white.
You're gonna take what you can get
Yes.
in mono white, honestly. Yeah. And there's always gonna be someone with more land if you're playing mono. So
Well, we're back to broken again because now we have Sister Hospitaller for a
let me
four,
have a
a
look.
white, and a black for a 3/2 human cleric that says when it enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. You gain life equal to its mana cost.
This is a great this is a great reanimation target because it just comes with another reanimation. Like
Yeah. So like
um
it's extremely easy to turn this into something goofy. You just need like basically any sack outlet and like karmic guide or like anything. This just goes
yeah.
infinite with like a
Yeah.
ham sandwich at this point, and it also gains you a jillion life. Like the loop that you don't even have to have anything crazy to loop this with. If you could just get this back, you'll just gain infinite life if you can do that. Like you don't need anything extra.
Nope.
You don't need
Worked
like some
very
kind of
well.
blood artist effect or anything. Just loop it
Mm.
over and over and gain a jillion life. And you're playing black. You'll find a way to use your life. Like,
There's always some way to do it. Yes.
like basically every card that says when it enters the battlefield, get something back from your graveyard to the battlefield without a downside is gonna find a way to get played in Commander. And this one has a good upside, which is gaining life. And the six
Yeah.
mana is once again not really a consideration. You're gonna play it for six sometimes, but more often than not, you're gonna pitch it to your grave, find a way to bring it back, and go nuts.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this next one. This is that really punishing one. Shadow in the Warp. This is one, a red and
Shadow
a
in the
green for an
wall.
enchantment. It says the first creature you cast each turn costs 2 less, and whenever an opponent casts their first non creature spell each turn, this deals 2 to them.
This
This is
card's just worth so much.
it's just a fun card. This is
It's
just a really cool card.
yeah.
Like I had a person at my
Absolutely.
local play group. They played oh god, I don't even remember the name of the commander at this point, but it's the one where whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, they take 6.
Oh, I know the one.
Yes,
Uh, yeah.
and this is just like a
I
smaller
can't
version of
remember the
that.
name either. Yeah.
But that's such a cool card, and this one is also pretty cool. Like obviously, if you're putting this in your deck, you want to cast the big dumb creatures, and you want to punish your opponents for casting the spell things. You want to go hit
Yeah.
hit, and you don't want them to do the magics.
Yeah. I think this card would not be good if it didn't make your creature spells cost less because also importantly, it's not if the first spell of your turn is a creature, it costs less. So you can cast this spell first, then cast another spell afterwards.
Yeah,
You're really only down one mana.
yeah,
Like you might be down a color potentially, but you'll be able to make it work well.
yeah. You get a little
And
rebate.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And then like that 2 damage, it's not nothing. Like there's a lot of decks that are trying to
No,
storm off, trying to combo, and I definitely can't survive taking 6 each time I cast a non-creature spell. Taking 2 is better, but it's not free.
yeah,
Like especially if you're taking any amount of
yeah,
aggression, taking 2 every time you try and like dig a little deeper into your deck can be quite annoying. And God
yeah.
forbid that you're trying to like do like underworld breach shenanigans. Just
Well,
you're gonna kill yourself.
it's only on the first non-creature spell each
Oh,
turn.
of
So
course it is.
yeah, but
I
this
think
is
this is still
each
fine.
turn, not each of yeah, but it's not each of their turns. So if you're casting an instant on someone else's turn, boom, you're gonna
Yep.
get shot for 2 mana, for 2 damage. Like blue players, oh god, they're gonna hate this card so much.
Oh yeah. I used to play with a person who did Talrand. It was just like Talrand and
Mm.
like as many counter spells as they could fit inside the deck, and their game plan was just to play out Talrand, counter everything, and swing with drakes. And
Ah,
well, they wouldn't be very
gross.
happy with this on the battlefield.
No, they would not. They would be taking a lot of damage.
Ooh, well, this one's one that a lot of people have already seen. Sanguinary Priest. 3 and a black for a 2/4 with lifelink, and whenever another creature you control dies, it deals 1 damage to any target.
Yes. So normally these effects say it deals the modern version of the effects say it deals 1 damage and you gain 1 life. But importantly, this says lifelink. You gain the life anyway. Um,
Well, normally it doesn't deal the damage to any target, it just says, like, someone loses life and you
True.
gain life.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
this
usually it's a
dealing any
player.
like a damage to anything means you can like ping creatures, you can hit
Yeah.
planeswalkers, you can direct it at people's faces if you want to. You get a lot of versatility, and God forbid you ever find a way to put Death Touch on it.
That's terrifying. That is
Yes,
actually terrifying.
yeah.
Oh
Just
no.
you think, oh cool, I'll sacrifice my stupid thing and maybe draw some cards with my Skull Clamp, and oh, also kill your thing. Cool. Get my 2 cards.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Take the mana from the thing, and then you just do a bunch of
Hmm.
stuff. It is 4 mana, but
Yeah.
I've seen 4 mana be used in Commander on much worse things than this. I think this
Yeah.
is a card that you're gonna see definitely at Commander tables, and
Yeah.
I would consider picking it up for sure.
This is also a cleric, and there is a decent amount of cleric support around.
Oh yeah,
You can definitely,
clerics are
there are
absurd.
things that like to reanimate clerics, there are things that like to, this card does work.
Next up, we have Primaris Eliminator, which is 4 and a black for a 3/2 Astartes Warrior. That says when it enters the battlefield, choose one. Destroy target creature or creatures target player controls get -2/-2 until end of turn. This is just a
Yeah,
very versatile card. It just kind of does a lot of things. It does cost 5 mana, but you're getting not only a body out of it, which you can always find a way to use bodies if you're playing black, and the effects are good. Like destroying a problematic creature is great thing to have in addition to your creature, and then
mm,
-2/-2 until end of turn for all of a specific player's creatures can actually be quite devastating.
yeah. This is kind of like a mixture between like it's halfway between Meteor Golem and Massacre Worm. Like it kind of like it does a not quite as good version of both, but it also only costs 5 mana, and you're in black, so you can probably reanimate the um this card does a lot, and it's versatile enough that you're gonna be happy with. You're gonna find a use for it no matter what you're doing.
And I find that a lot of the time, -2/-2 for the whole board usually only hits one player super duper hard. And, in those
Yeah,
games, that
exactly.
would be the player you're going to target. So just it kind
Yeah,
of is already doing the thing that you would be doing anyway.
exactly. Plus, if say you bluff with some bad combat and they leave, some of their creatures with only like a couple points of toughness not used up yet, that -2/-2 might be able to destroy like two or three big creatures if they block in a way where they're not thinking about it.
Yeah, for sure. Ooh. Plague Drone is next, and well, we already have a couple of effects that do this, but I don't think any of them have been on creatures yet. It's 3 and a black for a 3/3 flyer that says if an opponent would gain life, that player loses that much life instead.
As far as I know, I think this effect only exists on one card. Um, I can't remember the name of it. Oh,
Tainted Remedy?
Tin, Tainted Remedy. That's it. Yes. As far as I know, that's the only version of it up until now. This is good.
Yeah,
This is a really good creature. Um,
like it being a creature seems at first like it's a bit of a hindrance because creatures are the most removable card type, but like it means that you're not sacrificing like some kind of tempo. It also means that it's a
yeah.
lot easier to recur. It makes it more fragile, but it also makes it much more versatile in how you can get it onto the board.
Also, importantly, gaining life is usually not a May ability. Normally, most of those abilities are just templated as you gain 5 life. Because why would you ever not want to gain life? Except for when Plague Drone's out. So a lot of things with incidental life gain tacked on will just be incidental life loss because they can't choose not to do it.
Hmm. And it also does just say opponent. So, like, so does Tainted Remedy, but it's always nice
Oh
when those
yeah.
effects don't hit you, and this one does not.
Yes. Yeah. There
But,
was a funny I heard a funny anecdote once where somebody was playing Tainted Remedy and their opponent cast there's an Orzhov spell which doubles your life and halves each opponent. Turns out if you double your life with Tainted Remedy
you
out, you
die.
actually just go straight to
Yeah.
zero. Directly to zero.
Because what happens is you
So
gain life equal to your life total. That's what the doubling is. And the replacement effect of Tainted
mhm,
Remedy just brings it to zero. Yeah.
exactly. It's uh
But their opponents did lose half their life, so hey, go them.
yeah. Yeah.
Was it worth it? Probably not, but
I wouldn't say so, but it's up to them.
yeah.
Depends on how they felt.
This one, a lot of people kind of immediately said that this was going to be a combo card because of the Eon counters and like the Magosi land that lets you
Yeah.
take extra turns. But I
I
think
was
besides that, I think it is just a card you will probably play. Uh, Maybe
out of the
sometimes.
tombs, right? That's what we're
Yeah.
talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah. This card this card was number one on my list of things to talk about in the Warhammer set. This is so insane. So just absurdly insane. Unless somebody unless your opponent is trying to make you draw cards. Like unless they're targeting you with a spell which is like X like 10, draw 10 cards. Out of the Tombs is just like the perfect combo piece. Like you're you have infinite access to your graveyard basically because say uh you know whenever say you've got like a whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. You've got sack any free sack outlet and out of the tombs. Cool, you sacrifice the creature, so you're gonna draw but you replace the drawing of the card with the creature coming back to the battlefield, and now you have, whatever you did as your sack outlet. You gain a mana, you gain some life. This is like the perfect combo tool. Granted, if it dies, you're dead. You're just gone. But like this is such an easy way to just loop through your graveyard infinitely.
Yeah, I mean, see, the interesting thing about it is you don't actually need the Eon counters on it in order to use the second half of the card. So
No.
if it ends up being the case that you play this while you have no cards inside your library, the next turn, all the Eon stuff doesn't even matter. You just get the effect, and like in perpetuity
The
from then
Eon,
on,
yeah,
even that turn when you play it, if like in your second main
yeah.
or something you randomly end up drawing a card, well, congrats, you just get the bonus. Like the Eon counters, they do take a little while to get started, but I have a feeling you're probably not going to play this in a deck where you don't have other ways to get things in your graveyard.
Yeah, I would definitely be putting this in a deck that is actively trying to just self mill and loot things through to empty your deck as fast as possible.
I think one of the commanders
This,
that instantaneously kind of goes nuts with this would be like Gitrog.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. If you can do if
If
you can do a classic like get rog loop in the end step,
Yeah,
you know that one, right? Yeah, if you
yes,
can if you can pull that off, like out of the tombs, out of this world.
yeah, just do even more stuff for free that you always want to do.
Yeah, yeah.
This next one is really goofy, but I really enjoy it a lot. I don't even know if it's good, but I think it's fun, and I think that's good enough for me. This is Nurgle's Rod. This is a single black mana for
Purple.
an enchantment aura. Enchant creature an opponent controls, and when the enchanted creature dies, return Nurgle's Rot to its owner's hand, and you create a 1/3 black demon creature token named Plague Bearer of Nurgle.
I think this card's super cool.
So the
I
reason I think this card is good
mm,
is because of cards like Death Pact and Dictative Erebos.
yeah,
So you enchant
yeah.
your
Forcing your
opponent's
opponent.
thing, you sacrifice something, their thing dies, you get a 1/3, you get this back, do it again.
hmm Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's just a 1 mana kill spell for any, like, as many things as you can play it on.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It, it,
This
it,
card, yeah.
it's very goofy. It's very weird, and I think a 1/3 black demon creature tokens is a very odd stat line, for sure.
Yeah.
But
Yes, definitely.
it's cute and it's 1 mana and it's kind of like all of the weird quirky things I want to do in a casual game of Commander.
Yeah. I wonder if this card is going to see any play in like I can't remember what the name of the uncommons down uh format is.
It's like peasant or
Pauper
something.
peasant? Is it
Prince. I
peasant?
don't know. It's like it's some p
I think
word.
it's peasant. Yeah,
They
I
wanted
think it's
alliteration,
peasant.
so they wanted the p word.
Yeah. I wonder if this card is going to see play in peasant because like in a 1v1 situation, I think this card is a lot more valuable.
Yeah, 1/3s are no joke. I mean, they block 2/2s all day, and I have to imagine there's a lot of
Absolutely.
2/2s in those formats.
I would love to put this card. Ironically, I'd love to put this deck with Pestilence. You know what Pestilence likes?
Yes.
1/3 creatures
Oh yeah.
that just don't die and killing
Okay.
your opponent's stuff incidentally.
Well, I hate to like put so many of the mono black deck cards in here, but it turns out there's a lot of cards in that deck that are just really good. So we have another one, and
Really
this is
good. Deck's really good.
Locust Heavy Destroyer, which is one black for a 3/2 with flying. And it says when it enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature it has on Earth for 5 black. So, um, the reason this is here is because it's another creature that when it enters the battlefield, everybody sacrifices something. Now, there's a whole lot of
Yeah.
those, but This one not only has a built-in unearth, which is extremely expensive, but you're probably not going to use it very often, but it also is just a flying creature, and you kind of almost always want to load up on as many of these as you possibly can. Additionally, it also has 3 black pips, which is not a consideration of mono black, other than for Grey Merchant, which is a card that says, yes, please, I will take all of those black pips.
Every black pit we can get.
Now,
Yeah.
the card that I think this replaces is Slum Reaper. I have seen a couple decks in casual play this. It's
Mm.
3 and a black for a 4/2, and when it enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature. I think this is just a
Yeah.
better version of Slum Reaper. Slum
Yeah,
Reaper
this
was never
card is
exceptionally good.
definitely yeah, this card is definitely a strict upgrade of stuff that people are running. I don't think it's going to be, I, and I, yeah, I don't think this card's going to be an all-star. You'll see it in a card, but these effects always do more than you expect them to. That Voltron player who's just sitting up there, commander with a, you can't destroy it, like it's indestructible, but they sure can sacrifice it.
Yep.
This card does like having some of these effects is always so useful.
Oh yeah. I had a Massacre Girl deck that was really, really, really fun for a little while. And in that deck specifically, every card that had a symmetrical sacrifice effect was just insane. It always
Yeah,
went way above and beyond, and this is just another one.
it's good.
Next up, we have another black card, uh, Illuminor Xeras. That's Zeras. It's
Hmm.
2 and a black for a 3/3 legendary artifact creature Necron with a tap, sacrifice another creature, add an amount of black mana equal to the sacrifice creature's mana value.
Hmm. This card does a lot.
That's. It turns
Uh,
out making mana is really good.
yeah.
Who would have guessed? And it feels like once you cheat things out for their enter the battlefield effect, sacrificing them for somewhere between like 5 and 8 mana is probably good. It just seems like that's maybe good.
I definitely think this card is going to be one of those long time staples.
Yeah,
Like this effect, we've been waiting for this effect on Commander for so long. Like
like
I think this is going to be something that sticks around for a long.
like imagine you sacrifice like a solemn simulacrum. Okay, cool.
Oh,
I'll just take 4 mana and a
yeah.
card. Thanks. And then God forbid
Disgusting.
you're in like
So
some
good.
kind of deck where you can take control of other people's things.
Yeah. This oh my goodness.
And it's only 3 mana. Like
I'm
I
so
definitely
glad. Yeah,
expected this to be 4.
I'm so glad that this is mono black. 'Cause if it was black red and you could like threaten an opponent's commander, sacrifice it. Oh my god.
Yeah. And like I specifically have it here because I don't think it is only a commander. I think this is totally something you're going to see in a lot of 99s.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, notably, you can only do it once ordinarily because of the tap ability, but like that's enough. That's just enough. Like
Yeah.
there's just a whole bunch of stuff like Archon of Cruelty. Is that like the most recent crazy enter the battlefield thing? It's the one where like it comes
Yeah,
in and
Archon.
yeah,
Yes, yeah, the black Archon. Yeah, that card
like imagine
is
sacrificing that.
definitely yeah. Or I mean, hell, from Mon Horizons 2, what about Grief? You evoke Grief,
Yeah,
steal a card from their hand, get 5 mana. Like
yeah. But you
this
just do a
card's
lot of
good.
stuff, and notably, you don't have to sacrifice a black creature, but it does only make black mana. So you can sacrifice like literally any random thing you have laying around as long as it has a mana cost, and you get just a whole lot of black mana for it.
Absolutely.
Ooh, next we have something that sounds like it should be legendary, but is not. We have the Exalted Flamer of um.
Zinch, is it?
Z- I I believe
Yeah,
I'm going to trust you
Zinch.
that that's how it's
Zinch.
pronounced.
Yeah.
Zinch.
That is how it's pronounced.
This
Yes.
is a
Yeah.
2, a blue, and a red for a 2/4 demon with, at the beginning of your upkeep, return an instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard to your hand, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. This card is here because it is a better Charmbreaker Devils. It's in blue red,
Yeah.
but Charmbreaker Devils, I have seen a good number of commander decks play that card, and this is just so much better. 4 mana is so much less than 6.
Yeah.
Charmbreaker, I want
I
to say it's a 4
although I
4.
would say yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say that this I you shouldn't replace Charmbreaker Devils with
Yeah, just
Exalted
play
Flame
both.
Wither Siege. Yeah, you should just play both. Honestly, this is strong.
Yeah.
Being able to buy back spells, even if it's at random, like it gets damage, it draws cards. It's yeah, very good.
Also, there's a secret hidden way to make this card better, and that's just to not play instants and sorceries that suck.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I got opt off of my Exalted Flame Siege. Don't play opt. You know, play some good spells.
Yeah, just play like Jessica's Will. Oh no, I got my
Yeah,
Jessica's Will
exactly.
back. Now I have to win the game. Fuck. What am I gonna do?
Oh, very good.
Next
Very,
up,
very
we
good
have
card.
a. It's very good. Crypto Thrall, which is um, I know some people online that would fit this description, but Crypto Thrall is a 4
Yeah,
mana 3/3 with other artifact creatures you control have hexproof. This is an interesting one. I think the fact that it's colorless and also kind of serves the same um, role as
yeah,
Padim, is what put it on this list for me. Colorless means you can run it in
yeah,
literally any deck, and then
yeah.
other artifact creatures you control if hexproof is the more limiting factor because it only hits creatures. But if you're playing an
Mm,
artifact creature filled deck, you're gonna play this card.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, importantly, this isn't like colorless artifact creatures. So if your commander is also colorless, this is look, honestly, hexproof is the most important part of protection.
Yeah,
So if you've got an artifact commander, Crypto Thrall is a pretty good include. Like keeps you safe and just forces their removal on the
like this. This does Rhea. This does
yeah.
Silas, Sharoom. I mean,
Any
it would have hit
any of the Necron
Golos,
commanders,
all the
yeah.
Necron
Any of the
commanders as well.
Necron, yeah.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of stuff that you can do,
It
yeah.
turns out there's some pretty busted commanders. It has Ramos. I mean, there's
Yeah,
just a lot.
yeah, yeah. Ramos, Prosh if you're playing Prosh. No,
Pro-
not Prosh. Bosch. Bosch
I was
if you're
about to
playing
say,
Bosch.
what,
That's it.
Brosh?
No, not
Yeah,
Prosh.
Bosh, yeah. Yeah.
Thank goodness Prosh is an artifact that'll be
Oh,
disgusting.
as if that card needed more.
Yeah, exactly.
Once again, we have another black card for the next one. This is Cryptek, which is 3 and a black for a 3/3. Um, and it says 1 and a black tap, choose another target artifact creature you control. When that creature dies this turn, return it to the battlefield tapped under your control. Alright,
This is pretty
so
good.
yeah,
It's
1 and a
not
black
quite
is.
Safi Eriksdotter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it doesn't, you don't need a lot here. Also, it does say just you control and then under the battlefield under your control. It doesn't
Yes.
actually have to be something you own.
No, you can very much steal something with
Yeah.
this.
It is limited to artifact creatures, but it does just straight up come back to the battlefield under your control, not under its owners.
Yeah,
Uh, Notably,
absolutely.
this is just an interesting set of abilities on a creature that is adequately costed. I think there's going to be times where this is going to combo with something. I don't know what the thing is that it would combo with, but there's definitely some amount of loops you could do with this probably. Even with the fact that it has to
Yeah,
tap in order to use the ability, anytime you can
yeah,
spend 2 mana to get something back from the graveyard for essentially free, get another random death trigger or whatever, there's going to be value to be found.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I think the next card, yep, we have a not black card. This is
Wow.
Celestine the Living Saint.
Oh yes.
This card is kind of crazy. This is 4 into white for a 3/4 with flying and lifelink, and at the beginning of your end step, return target creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield for X is the amount of life you gained this turn. It's relatively easy to gain a good amount of life in Commander. There's a lot of ways to do it,
Yeah.
especially when you have like things with lifelink, which are pretty easy to come by. It is pretty easy to get a creature back from the graveyard every single end step that you have with this card
Yeah.
without a whole lot of work at all.
Absolutely.
This
Yeah.
is just
It's
a 5 mana creature that you're gonna play in most of your white decks if they can gain life at all.
my only, like, literally the only complaint I have about this is the fact that she's not an angel. I mean, she's not an angel, but also, like, come on. Come on.
If you show this card to
Uh,
anyone in the world and just blot out the type line right after legendary creature, most people would say
yeah.
like, "Oh, that's an angel." It's like an angel like
Yeah,
cleric or
exactly.
something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like the abilities read cleric, the art reads angel. It looks like an angel cleric. Celestine the Living Saint sounds like an angel cleric,
Hmm.
but
Oh well.
oh well, indeed.
Sometimes you're beholden to the law of the 40K universe. Goodness.
Yes, true facts. But even so, a really cool card. I think it's definitely worth picking up. We
Mm,
only have a few more of these
definitely.
to go. We have Canoptex Spider next. Spider spelled with a Y, I guess because it spies on things.
I'm
And this
sure.
is a 5 mana 4/4 with flying, and whenever another non token artifact, creature, or vehicle enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously, in the Necron deck, there's a lot of ways to like loop artifact creatures from the graveyard and stuff like that to make this worthwhile.
Mm,
But there's also just a whole lot of options already in Magic's arsenal of artifact creatures that come back from the graveyard and like get things back from your graveyard. This just seems like a really cool option for those decks. It's a little bit narrow because it does care specifically about artifact creatures and vehicles, but in that
mm.
deck, you don't really have too many options, and this is just one that I think is definitely premium compared to a lot of the others.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's also just a decent body. Like,
Yeah,
it's a 5 mana 4 fly. It's nothing to write home about, but it's gonna live through a lot of, damage removal. It's gonna live through a lot of small board wipes.
is this the first
This
spider with
card,
flying?
that's a very good question. That's a great question.
I think
Also a
it
great trivia
probably is.
fact. I would imagine so. Unless there could be like a beta card where they gave it flying in order to block flying creatures or something.
Yeah, this might
But
also
they
be
no.
like probably the first spider without reach because it flies.
Let's have a look. Um, yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, yeah. This is a great trivia question. Everyone on at home, this is great. This is the only spider with flying.
Cool. Let's. I mean, I guess I've now seen it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next up, we have Calidus Assassin, which is
Mm,
for a blue and a black for a 3/3 with flash, and you may have it enter the battlefield tapped as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it has, when this creature enters the battlefield, destroy up to one other target creature with the same name as this creature. So, generally, you're going to use this to make a copy of something that your opponent has, and then they don't get it because you kill it.
yeah,
Um, it is 6 mana,
this
but
it is.
you're not paying 6 mana for this. Come on.
This card's super cool. This card's super cool. Even like I don't even know if this card's gonna be the best thing out there,
No, but it's
but
gonna see play.
it's so yeah. As somebody who runs a whole bunch of assassins like in 40k, this is so so right. They did this one well.
I mean, like
Who knows if it's too expensive to see play, but
I still know people that play Duplicant.
oh yeah.
Like,
Duplicate's a classic, and it's so much worse than this. Like so
yeah,
infinitely worse than
like I know people that are still playing Duplicant, and like this card exists now in like relatively the same color combinations that those people were using. Like I've seen Duplicant in Brea. Like,
yeah,
just play
absolutely.
this card. Just play the Calidus Assassin. It's gonna be good. You can get it back from the graveyard, like relatively on the cheap, and also you can just use it as like a clone. You don't even have to kill something if you don't really want to. You can just
Yeah,
have it be the best thing on your side of the board and not destroy that thing.
absolutely. It's this card does so much stuff. Yeah.
And like a lot of clones from back in the old days, not so many anymore. It can do anything on the board, and it also does not target. It just says any creature on the board. It,
Yes.
no
So
targeting
if you
needed.
want to copy, yeah, yes, you can copy the hexproof thing. You can't then destroy it,
Yes, that's
but
correct.
if it's got hexproof, you can still copy it.
Yeah, that's a pretty good bonus.
Yeah.
Ah, this is a fun one. The next one is Blood for the Blood God. The art is really interesting. I think it's one of the coolest arts from the whole set, if you ask me. But this is
Yeah.
8 and a black and another black and a red for an instant that costs 1 less to cast for each creature that died this turn. Discard your hand, draw 8 cards, and it deals 8 damage to each opponent. Exile Blood for the Blood God.
This card's really good.
So
Like really good, I think.
it is a little bit sink or swim, but like it doesn't feel like you're going to have to do too much work to get in a position where you can cast this for a reasonable
Yeah.
amount of mana. And then, like, you're playing black and red, you have a way to find use for the things you put in the graveyard, and you also
Mm,
just drew 8 cards.
yeah. The fact I think this card wouldn't be good if it was a sorcery. The fact that this is an instant, like you wait for somebody else to, do a board wipe or, a big combat to happen where a whole bunch of little 1/1 tokens trade off. Oh, if 4 pairs of 1/1 tokens trade off with each other. Cool. Blood for the Blood God now costs 3 mana to do a to do better than a wheel
Mm-hmm.
and deal 24 damage. Okay.
Yeah. It's just strong. It's just interesting, unique, flavorful, and strong. And I think all that together is
Absolutely.
enough. And like the downside of wheels usually is that they also let your opponents wheel. That is
Yeah.
my biggest
Yeah.
complaint with wheels is that when I do them, my opponents groan because they are pitching their hands, and then they don't like me, or they get a better hand. This
Yeah,
avoids that.
absolutely. Yeah, it's good.
Ooh,
It's
next
very
one
good.
is I think our first saga. I think it might be the only one I have on this list. This is Birth of the Imperium. This is
Hmm.
2 and Esper colors, which is white, blue, and black, for a saga that has 3 chapters. Chapter 1, create a 2/2 with a vigilance for each opponent you have. Chapter 2, each opponent sacrifices a creature. And Chapter 3, draw 2 cards for each opponent who controls fewer creatures than you. I think sagas are much cooler in Commander than they are in 1 versus 1 formats because you tend to have a better time making them work when they have effects that care about multiple opponents. Some of the coolest sagas, like what was the name of the Bolas one? The Eldest Reborn. That card is an
Yeah.
absolute beating in Commander, and
Yes.
this card reminds me a good amount of that. Uh, Generally, you're going to get 3/2/2s, which is a solid consolation prize if somehow Birth of the Imperium ends up getting destroyed. Then each
Hmm.
opponent sacrifices a creature. is actually pretty strong because you've already got your 3/2/2s out of it. And then drawing 2 cards for each opponent who controls fewer creatures than you. Generally speaking, unless things are going really bad, you're going to get at least 2 cards out of that. And then you can get, on average, up to 6. If
Yeah,
if you can manage to get all
definitely.
of these things to work, and even like if all of these things work halfway, let's say like you get 1/2/2, and then you have like 2 creatures die to chapter 2, and then you only draw
Mm,
2 cards. You got a 2/2, made your opponent sacrifice 2 creatures, and drew 2 cards for 5 mana.
absolutely.
That's not bad.
It's, the cards come at the end of it, which is the sad part, but it's so efficient if you can make things happen in the way you want it to. If you build towards this, like if you're building an Esper tokens deck, this is just an absolute slam
Yeah.
dunk everywhere.
And it doesn't even ask all that much of you. Plus, it feeds itself. Like, it gives you creatures, it takes away their creatures, and it says, hey, do you have creatures? Your opponents not have creatures? Congratulations. It's just,
Yeah.
it's like a cool little self contained engine. The only big cost to this card is that it takes some time and it's in 3 colors.
Mm. Yeah.
Oof. Well, this one, we're back to mono black again for this one. This is Biotransference.
Mm-hmm.
2 black for an enchantment with creatures you control or artifacts in addition to their other types. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, you lose 1 life and create a 2/2 black Necron warrior artifact creature token. Wow, that is a lot of text on those tokens. 2/2 black Necron warrior artifact creature token. Wow. Yeah. Um, so the reason that this is here is not for the second half, it's for the first half, where all of your creatures are artifacts. It feels like between that and the second half, this is going to do something somewhere.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
Not just with
Like,
like KCI, but like artifacts in general are just interesting things to make your creatures for combo reasons.
definitely, yeah. There's, search your deck for a card.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are so many effects that look for artifacts or artifact 3 or less, reanimate an artifact, or you know when this creature dies, return an artifact graveyard to the battlefield. Just as we've seen with a whole bunch of stuff, it broaden like if you broaden things from being just creatures to being creatures and something, or, if you expand what pools things are available in, you just get combos instantly, like everywhere, everywhere.
The options go up exponentially, and no exceptions here. I imagine that's going to be one that somebody will find a way to do something with. Ah,
Yeah, absolutely.
well, it seems that they weren't content with just one white creature that gave your commander something difficult to deal with. We have Bastion Protector next, which is 2 and a white for a 3/3 with commander creatures you control get +2/+2 and have indestructible.
Yes, we kind of talked about this like right at the start, even. This doesn't have flash, which is, the real downside to it. But the fact that this has like the fact that this card exists at all is great. Oh,
Yeah.
this wasn't the first time this has been printed. Interesting.
Oh, it isn't?
No, this was actually originally printed in Commander 2015, I think.
Ah.
This is technically a reprint.
What, what, what,
And
what deck was this one in?
2015, uh I don't know the name of the deck.
I'll be able to find. Let me see. Sets and legality. Midnight Hunt Commander and Commander 2015. Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. One interesting thing, if you've got both those, like the other version pulled up there, the art is very much a callback to the original art. That's very cool. But also, yeah, these effects you really can't run many of. Like, if your commander's a creature, like commanders are the most important part of commander, obviously, and keeping them safe is just such a job that you like devoting whole creatures to it is probably worth it.
Yeah. Well, I want to revise my choice here to buy one of the other ones if it's cheaper, but this is definitely a strong creature.
Yeah.
Like, if
Well, it
you
currently
value your
looks like
commander,
the yeah. I'm just sorry. The It currently looks like the cheapest version of it is the non-foil 40k version,
interesting. That's
followed
crazy.
shortly by Midnight Hunt Commander. But
Hmm,
yeah,
fair enough. All right, now we have a really cool one. One of my favorite arts. Doesn't really fit incredibly well into Magic. This is a Talon Jackal, which is
mm.
one a red and a green for a 2/2 with trample and haste. And when it deals combat damage to a player, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. Uh, these
This
effects
is
are good.
mm. Yeah, this is a super important effect. Like, yeah, ramping yourself up. It's a trample creature that you can pump up to make sure that it gets through. You know,
I mean,
there's
if you play
at
cards like Sword of the Animist,
mm,
play this. Just play this
definitely.
card. If you
Yeah,
have black and red and green, rather play this card.
there's gonna be a blue player at your table who hasn't got enough creatures in their deck, and on turn three they won't have any creatures down at the bottom, or they'll have a 1/1, and you can just travel straight over and ramp up. Like, I wouldn't play this card in 1v1 because I would expect people to be able to deal with it,
Mm.
but in a four-player game, someone's gonna miss, and
Oh
you
yeah.
can take advantage of that.
Oh yeah. I just really like this card. The art's cool, the ability's cool, just really cool altogether.
Mm.
Ooh, last one, and we're ending on a black card. This is uh, Anrakir the Traveler, which is 4 and a black for a 4/4 legendary artifact creature Necron. And it says when it
Mm.
attacks, you may cast an artifact spell from your hand or graveyard by paying life equal to its mana cost rather than paying its actual mana cost.
Yeah. You can do some very silly stuff with this.
Yeah, I mean,
It does need to attack, which is the hard part, but I'm sure you can play some equipment that gives it haste. I'm sure that, this is a great commander to throw some, Swiftfoot boots or, Greaves onto. Give it a bit of protection, give it some haste, and just attack. Chuck down a, Spine of Ishtar or something. Just absolutely destroy someone.
so like there's a few places where I think this shines. I think it shines in like anything where you can get things back from your graveyard easy in the 99. And also you can do some work with it in your command zone, like Cedrus in particular. Like have this get unearth and just unearth it, throw it back into play, get something back from your graveyard immediately. Also, it does make you cast the artifact spell when the trigger happens. It's not until end of turn, so you're getting that thing immediately when it attacks. The attack trigger is what's going to get it, and it will come back before they even get to block. So if it's something that like affects the board state in any way, well, congratulations, you're getting it before they get a chance to block. Hold on, I think there might be an audio problem. All right, we're back. There was a brief disconnect, but we're back. What was the last thing that you heard me say about our buddy here, the traveler?
Um, I think the last thing you said was that it was really good. I kind of just waffled on for a little bit about chucking some Greaves, and no, and then we talked about Spanish Sa and how silly that would be.
Yeah.
Uh,
Notably, the trigger to get something back happens when you attack, so and that is when you cast it. So if it's something that
mm,
affects the board state, your opponent does not get to block before that happens. Uh,
Yeah.
it will bring that thing back before the combat damage goes through, before they get to block any of that. Those are all
Yeah.
the cards that I have on my list of things from this set that I think people should probably be picking up. A lot of them
Yeah.
obviously were from the black deck. Were there any cards from this set that you thought were incredibly noteworthy that I have not mentioned?
Um, I think there's only one card that really stood out to me, called Hierophant Biotitan. Um, this is a 12 drop, 10 generic, 2 green for Tyrannid. It's a 12/12, and but instead of paying mana cost, instead 1/1 counters from creatures you control. It costs 2 less for each counter, and it's big, vigilance, reach, ward, hard to kill, and it can't be blocked by small creatures. This is just a big beater, and it's really not that hard to get counters on creatures. If you're running a deck that already, likes to, have a few creatures with counters on, you've got a Catharsis Crusade in there. Or this card, it's really not difficult to, 3 counters for something. I'd pay 6 mana. You know.
See, I definitely saw this card and I considered putting it on the list.
Mm.
The interesting thing is, I don't think it's going to be at all oppressive or even like very, very good, but I know I'm going to die to it at least once.
I think vigilance is a very relevant keyword here.
And reach, yeah.
Um, yeah, it's
Like
like
all those
it's
abilities
so
together,
good
they're
on
just
the
really good.
defense. Yeah, because I mean, you block more often in Commander than you attack. Like you have 3 opponents. Each of them is, on average, going to attack everybody. They're going to send something at every. Theoretically. So you're having vigilance and being able to actively do something while also defending from those 3 players with the giant creature. Really good. Really, really good.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and I think it's also extremely flavorful. I really really like a lot of the Tyranid cards. They really feel foreign and alien and invasive and cool
Yeah,
like that.
absolutely. Yes.
Cool.
100%.
Well, that rounds off our itinerary for today's episode. I am Luca. You can find me at Honestly Unusual on Twitter. You can also find my articles at hipstersofthecoast.com. Right here on screen, you see my latest one, the Red Green Aggro Draft Guide, starring me and my ruminations on the format. It's a very interesting piece, I think, and a lot of my contemporaries inside the editor's room apparently also believe that, all of my contacts at Hipsters. I don't have a whole lot of stuff going on other than that. I've taken a little bit of a backseat with my channel lately because Dominaria United has been a little taxing for me mentally. Just kind of a little burnt out on that format, and I've been concentrating on a lot of writing. But I'll have some flashback stuff and some other format stuff, maybe some standard coming up soon. Laura, is there anything that you would like to tell our wonderful fans about what you have going on?
You can just find me on Twitter or find me on Cube Cobra, or I've recently been putting together my decks on field. So if you go to my Twitter account, you'll be able to find the link there.
Okay, so it links to every single thing you have going on will be in your Twitter account. Just as well, I'll have a
Yeah,
link to your Twitter account inside of my description, okay?
thank you.
Cool.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. I would appreciate it if you considered liking, commenting, possibly subscribing. It certainly helps me out quite a bit. For the moment, the channel is not in any way monetized. There's no money coming to anybody in this project. It's just passion for now. But someday that might change. And that will be off the backs of wonderful viewers like yourselves taking the time to help make this channel grow. Thank you so much for tuning in and have a good night.